Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if the Uchiha clan protects Naruto in Konoha. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by DryBonesKing and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Night had long passed over Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves. With the moon shining in the night sky, many of the residents had gone to sleep. Only a few of its residents were awake at this hour. One of these few residents was the Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. The aged shinobi sat at his desk doing paperwork. Hiruzen was trying to find ways to keep himself awake by doing one of the more mundane aspects of being Hokage. He was, however, more focused on the door to his office. The man was currently waiting for a specific shinobi to arrive so that he could have a discussion with him. After the Sandaime finished a whole stack of paperwork, he heard a knock on the door. Enter. Hiruzen spoke up as he moved his paperwork to the side of his desk. The Sandaime Hokage watched as the door to his office opened. A young man dressed in the Konoha Umbu uniform walked into the room. He wore a mask that identified him as the Umbu operative Weasel. The young man walked to the center of the room before bowing to the Hokage. You can take off your mask, Itachi, and have a seat. I have many things we need to discuss. Hiruzen said. Understood. The Umbu nodded. The young man removed his mask, revealing onyx eyes and jet black hair. The Umbu operative, Itachi, proceeded to sit down in a chair in front of Hiruzen's desk. How are you, Itachi? Do you have anything to report yourself? Hiruzen questioned. Itachi nodded. Yes, Hokage-sama. I just left the compound after spying on a personal meeting between my father and a few of the main conspirators in my clan. I have reason to believe that the coup they have been planning will occur in a month's time. Hiruzen sighed. Itachi's clan, the Uchiha clan, had been planning a coup d'etat against Konoha. The clan, ever since the Kyuubi attack, had been treated negatively by a good portion of the Konoha shinobi. They were under suspicion as possible instigators of the Fox's attack. Due to this discrimination and suspicion, the Uchiha clan had started to resent Konoha and its ideals and were planning to act appropriately. The end result of the Uchiha clan's actions, as the Hokage and Itachi saw it, would be a civil war that would destroy Konoha. Is there any more information you have heard? Hiruzen asked as he massaged his temples. Itachi shook his head. The clan is being secretive about who they let know information, even amongst the conspirators. The Umbu operative paused in his speech for a few seconds before speaking again. I believe they are starting to suspect that I am leaking information of the coup. The Sandaime sighed in response again. With each subsequent meeting with Itachi, the information he gave became graver and more upsetting to the aged Hokage. Action was going to be needed soon. Thankfully, Hiruzen had an idea for an action. Itachi, ever since you informed me about your clan's plan, I have been trying to come up with a solution. Tonight, I believe I finally have one. He claimed. Itachi nodded. The Uchiha had an idea on the Hokage's solution earlier that day. He had discussed the coup with Shimura Danzo. Danzo had informed him about the need to remove all threats to Konoha and had encouraged him to eliminate the members of his clan. Itachi, as much as the idea pained him, couldn't fault the logic behind it. The hate of his clan was at an all-time high. Something had to be done to avert the upcoming war, and removing the instigators of this war would be the most ideal way to keep Konoha safe. Itachi, having this idea in his head, listened to his Hokage, expecting to be ordered to massacre his own clan. I am sick of violence. We just fought the Third Shinobi World War and I do not want to see any more shinobi die. Peace is needed in this village, Hiruzen declared. Therefore, I have decided that the village needs to strengthen the bond with your clan. I know many of the Uchiha feel underrepresented in our government, and feel discriminated against. Something needs to be done about this in order to bring peace. Hiruzen closed his eyes for a second before opening them again. A smile graced his lips before he spoke again. I have decided it's about time Konoha has had an Uchiha Hokage. Itachi, from this day forward, I will begin training you in order for you to replace me and claim the title of Godame Hokage. He told the Umbu operative. Uchiha Itachi was a shinobi infamous for his ability to act purely on reason and hide his emotions completely. After hearing the Hokage's solution, however, his lauded ability to hide emotions faded. His eyes widened in surprise and his mouth dropped slightly. He remained silent, processing the information. A few seconds passed before he reobtained the ability to speak. Hokage-sama, are you sure of this? He asked quietly. I'm not qualified to lead Konoha. I don't have any of the capabilities to do so. Itachi, you are more than qualified. You are one of the most talented and respected shinobi of your generation, and you continue to grow in skill and in reputation as the years go by. Hiruzen noted proudly. I realize you may not be familiar with all of the political aspects of the position, which is why I will be training you. It will be a few years before you probably are ready to replace me. However, I personally believe that there is no other perfect candidate than you. Itachi didn't say anything, still processing the information. Confusion was evident on the boy's face, causing Hiruzen to sigh. He then started to speak again to further explain his decision. Your clan's actions are based on their treatment in the village and how they feel the other members of Konoha view them. They feel as if we are out to get them. So, this is also a political appeasement to your clan. With you, and Uchiha, as Hokage, your clan will see the Hokage is one of them. They will believe that you will not act against their best wishes. The Sandaime elaborated. But will it work? And are there not better options than me? Itachi questioned. The Sandaime shook his head. There is no guarantee. However, I know your father and I know the multiple Uchiha that are under me. They do not want needless fighting. They are acting in what they feel is in their best interest. And seeing you as Hokage, I feel as if they will see you as Hokage and by association, a village with their best interest in mind. I believe this will work. The Hokage then shook his head again. And considering that your clan is planning a coup, I feel that you, the shinobi who informed me of this coup, is the one who is acting with the village's best interest in mind. There is no better candidate than you. Itachi stayed quiet. His confusion faded, but there was still obvious conflict in his eyes. He remained in deep thought before speaking quietly. Hokage-sama, I do not feel as if I am ready to become Hokage. However, I personally agree with most of your logic and I know you know more than me about what is best for the village. If you feel this is the best solution and will help bring peace to Konoha, then let your will be done, he said. Hiruzen chuckled in response. You say you don't feel ready, but are willing to do so if it's for the village's safety and peace. Uchiha Itachi, you really are going to become a great Hokage. Hokage Itachi repeated the name, and the idea in his head. After listening to the Hokage's logic and opinion, the Uchiha was starting to slowly accept it and the responsibilities it will bring. If it brings peace to the village and my clan, then so be it. If you say so, Hokage-sama, Itachi said, a small smile gracing his lips. Itachi, I just declared you my successor. You can drop the sama. Hiruzen chuckled. Anyway, you are dismissed. Return to your clan. I will make my announcement about your appointment tomorrow. The Umbu operative bowed in response before exiting the room. With his discussion with Itachi over, Sarutobi Hiruzen too left the room to head to bed. Both shinobi had only one thought in mind, that this solution would work and bring the village to peace. Itachi, you're home late? Itachi, upon entering his house in the Uchiha clan estate, was immediately greeted by his father, Uchiha Fugaku. The man was leaning against the doorway to the house, still fully dressed. Father. Itachi bowed to the man upon seeing him. I am surprised you're up. I'm surprised to see you out for so long. Fugaku replied, a slight bitter tone to his voice. Where were you? I've been looking for you for the past few hours. Itachi resisted the urge to frown. Forgive me. I was summoned by Hokage-sama to discuss something with him. Summoned by the Hokage, huh? Fugaku grumbled, his words sounding almost poisonous. He continued to speak, this time louder. Well, what then? What was so important that he summoned you this late at night? Itachi actually gulped slightly. This is it. Hokage-sama has appointed me to be his successor. I am going to be the Godame Hokage, he answered. Fugaku's eyes widened and he nearly lost his balance. Upon composing himself, he openly gaped at his son, registering his words. He has said what? The Uchiha clan had questioned, stuttering slightly. He said that he was going to train me these next few years in politics. Afterwards, I am to be appointed as Godame Hokage. Itachi answered again, this time more quietly. Itachi and Fugaku studied each other. Itachi was trying to see how his father was going to react to the news and whether or not his new appointment would help destroy the plans for the coup. Fugaku, on the other hand, was simply trying to imagine what Itachi had just said. Sarutobi Hiruzen appointed you to be Hokage? Fugaku repeated the idea again. Itachi nodded in response. You and Uchiha? Again, Itachi nodded. The idea seemed so foreign and impossible to Fugaku. Never in his lifetime could he imagine an Uchiha being Hokage, an Uchiha being in charge of Konoha. The village, as he saw it, had been overrun with Senju ideas and had turned against the Uchiha clan in the present day. The very idea of an Uchiha Hokage was just impossible. Now, however, according to his son, the impossible happened. Itachi, what does this mean then? Fugaku asked. Itachi shook his head. What does it mean to you, father? Fugaku closed his eyes. Ever since the Kyuubi attack and the first accusations against his clan about the incident, he has grown to resent Konoha and being a part of the village. He genuinely feared that the village would one day wipe out his clan for being threats to the village's safety. He believed that it was going to happen and that he needed to act fast before it did happen. Now, with the idea of an Uchiha, his own son, as Hokage, his fear seemed to be less certain. Itachi, what do you really think? Fugaku asked quietly. About everything? The Hokage, the clan, the village, everything. Itachi remained silent for a second, trying to think of the proper words before he started to speak. I've seen enough death already to last a lifetime. Too don't want to see anyone die, whether they be Uchiha or other Konoha shinobi. I want to do my part to make sure everyone in this village is able to be in peace. So you were never in favor of the coup? Fugaku grumbled quietly. Never on the side of your clan. Itachi shook his head profusely. I have never been against our clan. I want what is best for all of us. I just personally believe that a coup and the war that it would cause would be detrimental for everyone involved, especially our clan. The Umbu operative's eyes narrowed. They were filled with determination. I want to do my part to make sure everyone, Uchiha or not, is able to live in peace. And if I must become Hokage to create this peace, then so be it. Fugaku said nothing as he closed his eyes in deep thought. The determination that had filled Itachi was slowly starting to fade again as he worried about his father's response. Just as he was about to speak up, his father opened his eyes and laughed quietly. Hey, you know, Itachi, I always imagined you as a leader. I always was expecting you to replace me as the head of the Uchiha clan and lead our clan to greatness. But this Fugaku gave his son a proud smile. You've exceeded my expectations. I'm expecting you to be the best damn Hokage this village has ever had. Father Itachi's eyes widened. Does that mean, no clan of mine will turn its back on my son and the village he represents? We won't turn against our village? The Uchiha clan had stated firmly. Tomorrow, at the clan meeting, I want you with me as we cancel our plans and reveal to everyone that you are going to become the Hokage. Father Itachi's eyes threatened to water as he bowed to his father in gratitude. Thank you? Heh, still as stiff as ever. No need to bow to me. Fugaku was now laughing loudly, filled with joy that he had been missing for the past 8 years. The man rushed over to his son and pulled him into a hug. Itachi returned the hug immediately. If anything, I should be thanking you. You've done a good job as a shinobi, Itachi, and I know you're going to be a great Hokage who will have the village and the Uchiha's interests in mind. I'm proud of you. After finishing their hug, the two Uchiha bid each other goodnight and headed off to bed. Ever since he heard about the ideas of the coup, Itachi had been having trouble sleeping. Now, knowing that the coup was going to be over, the Uchiha prodigy was able to fall asleep easily. The next day, in the afternoon, Itachi arrived at the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen greeted him with a knowing smile on his face. I take it the news went over well within the clan. Hiruzen asked the Uchiha prodigy. Yes, Hokage-sama. Itachi replied with a smile of his own. The clan is still celebrating the idea of an Uchiha as Hokage. Nearly all of the conspirators have changed their tune and are now fully in support of Konoha again. They all feel as if an Uchiha as Hokage will improve their reputation in the village greatly. Excellent. The Sandaime cheered loudly. He then recognized a word the Uchiha had used and frowned slightly. I noticed you did not say all of the conspirators. I didn't. Itachi's smile faded as well. The main conspirators for the coup along with my father were Uchiha Uragiri, Uchiha Gakido, and Uchiha Ryu. All 3 men have vanished without a trace. No one has seen them since the previous day. No one has seen them at all? Hiruzen questioned. Itachi shook his head. I'm starting to think that they may have heard me talk to my father about the appointment to Hokage. Once they heard that the coup was going to be cancelled, they may have fled the village. The Umbu operative sighed. This is all speculation, but I have no idea what happened to them otherwise. This is troubling. That they would be able to escape the village without a single person noticing. Hiruzen shook his head in frustration. I'll send shinobi out to search for them. If they do not appear somewhere in the village by the end of the day, they will be marked as missing ninja and will be placed in the bingo book. If they really fled the village because the coup was called off, then they are a danger to Konoha and must be dealt with immediately. Agreed. Itachi nodded. Hiruzen opened his mouth to speak, but was interrupted as the door to his office was slammed open. A young blonde boy around 8 years old with blue eyes and whisker marks on his cheeks ran into the room. Hey old man. You ready to go to lunch? The little boy asked excitedly. It's Tuesday. You promised we'd go to Ichiraku's today. Hiruzen and Itachi stared at the blonde boy for a few seconds before Hiruzen smiled at him. I almost forgot, Naruto-kun. You tend to forget these things when you reach my age, he said with a laugh. Ah, come on. I know you're old, but you can't be that old yet. You got, what, another 10 to 20 years left? The blonde, Naruto, wondered with a shrug. Naruto-kun, I certainly hope I have longer than 10 years. Hiruzen said immediately with a sweat drop. You probably do. I don't know. The boy shrugged again in response before his eyes filled up with excitement. Well, who cares if you forgot? Can we go to Ichiraku's now? Heh. Itachi chuckled slightly at the interaction between Naruto and the Sandaime. He got up from his chair and walked towards the door. We can talk later, Hokage-sama. You enjoy your lunch. Come back later tonight. Again, Itachi, we have much to discuss. Hiruzen informed him. Itachi nodded before bowing to the Hokage and Naruto. He then left the room. Naruto studied the young man walking out before turning to the aged Sandaime. Hey, who was that? He looks familiar. Naruto mumbled. He very well may. He's Uchiha Itachi, the older brother of one of your classmates, Sasuke. Hiruzen answered. Really? Naruto's eyes widened. Yes. The Sandaime chuckled. He's also going to the next Hokage. Naruto's eyes widened further before he let out a loud scream. What? But I was supposed to be the Godame Hokage Databeo. Hiruzen's chuckles turned to a loud laugh as he watched the boy he treated like a grandson pout. Calm down, Naruto-kun. I have faith that you will become Hokage one of these days. It just so happens that Konoha needs a new one right now, and Itachi is the best candidate for the job. Hiruzen told the boy to appease him. Naruto stopped shouting and started to think. Yeah, I guess. You are old, so it's a good idea to get someone younger for now. But what's so special about him? Tell you what, we can talk about Itachi over lunch. You still want to go, right? Hiruzen reminded Naruto about the reason the blonde came in the first place. Naruto's eyes widened in realization before he grabbed the Hokage's hand and dragged him out of the office to go get lunch. The boy was mumbling ichirakus, miso ramen, and delicious the entire way out of the building while the Sandaime chuckled at the boy's antics. The previous night, Sarutobi Hiruzen made a decision to appoint Uchiha Itachi as the future Godame Hokage. Both he and Itachi agreed to the idea, feeling as if it was the option that would generate peace for Konoha. The two men were unaware of the consequences Hiruzen's appointment would have on the entire shinobi world. 2 years later, Irika-sensei, it's time for class to be over. Can we go now? Yumino Irika, instructor at the Konoha Shinobi Academy, looked up at the clock in his classroom. It was indeed time for class to end for the day. Before he dismissed his students though, he had an announcement to give. I'll let you all out for the day soon, don't worry. But before I do, I want to remind you guys that because tomorrow is a special day, class tomorrow will be cancelled, he explained. Most of the academy's students started to cheer loudly at the prospect of having no class. One student, however, was confused. Sensei, what do you mean? What's so special about tomorrow? He asked. Before Irika could answer, one of the other classmates, Inuzuka Kiba, let out a loud scoff. You don't know? What, do you live under a rock? The Inuzuka laughed to himself. Tomorrow's the day where the Sandaime steps down and the Godame replaces him. Irika was about to lecture Kiba about his tone of voice and attitude, but he was again interrupted by more cries of confusion from the other students. We're getting a new Hokage? Since when? Why did I not know about this? It's been known for 2 years and I've been talking about this all week, I swear. Do any of my students pay attention to anything? The academy instructor sighed in frustration. Yeah, the old man decided he wanted to put someone else in charge. Someone a lot younger. Uzumaki Naruto said loudly, getting everyone's attention. Oh, be quiet, Naruto. Like you knew about this if I didn't? One of his fellow students, a girl with brown hair, said as she rolled her eyes. Hey Mai, you don't know shit. Don't act like you're smart or anything. Naruto exclaimed. In response, the girl, Mai, reddened in anger. Before she could do anything about his comments, Naruto continued to speak. The Godame is going to be some black-haired guy named Itachi. He's my brother. All eyes were then directed towards Uchiha Sasuke. The boy, usually sitting quietly in his seat until class ended, was standing up. Oh yeah, that's right. Old man Sandaime mentioned that to me. I forgot about that. Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. Sasuke nodded in response. The Sandaime has been training my brother for the past 2 years in all of the duties of the position. Today, he's finally ready to succeed him. Immediately after Sasuke's comment, nearly all of the kunoichi rushed over to Sasuke's seat. Most of them were blushing and a few of them even appeared to have hearts in their eyes. Of course your brother would be Hokage, Sasuke-kun. Ino said dreamily. Maybe you'll be the Rokodame after him. Mai added in a similar dreamy tone. Whatever. Sasuke rolled his eyes in response as he backed away from the girls. Can I get going now? Hey, I'm the one going to be Rokodame. Get in like Sasuke. Naruto exclaimed loudly. Naruto's female classmates turned their attention away from Sasuke and towards Naruto. They all glared at the blonde, releasing a sizable amount of killing intent at the boy. Sasuke took this opportunity to get out of his chair and away from the girls. He then started to walk to the door. You can have the position, Naruto. Being the Hokage is Itachi's thing. Not mine. The Uchiha boy said dismissively. Naruto's eyes widened slightly in response, but Sasuke paid it no mind. He instead turned his head towards Irika. Irika-sensei, may I be excused? Irika blinked in response before nodding. Yes, class is dismissed. Have a good day. Sasuke bowed before leaving the room. The other academy students followed behind one by one. Naruto, too, walked out of the room slowly. The blonde, however, was deep in thought. Sasuke seemed upset when we talked about the Hokage. Naruto noted with a frown on his face. Why would it bother him, though? What would upset him about it? This is the place. Itachi noted a sign of a building as he walked into it. Itachi entered a small tea shop near the Konoha Ninja Academy. The young man walked up, ordered a cup of tea, and sat down at an empty table. He then stared at the door. A few minutes passed and Itachi received his cup of tea. The door then opened up to the shop and another man walked into the room. He was an old man with black shaggy hair. He had bandages covering his forehead and his right eye. He had a white shirt on with a black robe over it that covered his right arm. The man walked over to the counter with a cane and ordered a cup of tea. Itachi mentally tensed at the sight of the man, but he had no outwardly reaction. After receiving his tea, the man walked over to Itachi's table and sat down. Thank you for coming at my request, Itachi. I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long. He told the Uchiha. Itachi shook his head in response. I was only here for a few minutes. Don't worry about it, Danzo-sama. The crippled man, Danzo, nodded in response. The two men took a sip of their tea in near unison. Silence filled the table for a few seconds before Itachi started to speak. Forgive me for asking, but what exactly did you want to talk about today? It's unusual for you to plan a meeting with someone. Especially during the day. Itachi noted with a neutral tone of voice. Your schedule is going to be filled in the next few days. I felt like I should talk to you while I had the opportunity. Danzo commented. How do you feel, Itachi? Tomorrow is your big day. I've been training for this day the past 2 years. I feel ready. Itachi responded. You're not nervous at all? He questioned. Why would I be? The Uchiha asked. Being Hokage is a stressful position. I'm sure Hiruzen has gotten that point across. The crippled man noted as he stared at his tea. The entire village is going to be your responsibility. It'll be your duty to keep this village safe. Danzo's eyes left his tea and glared at the Uchiha. The entire village, not just your clan. Itachi matched his glare with one of his own. I realize that. I'll do my best. But is your best enough? Danzo questioned, eyes going back to his tea. He took a sip before speaking again. A prodigy you may be, but you are also young and inexperienced in the world of politics. The Yondaime was also young when he was chosen to become Hokage. Itachi pointed out, as was the Yondaime Mizukage. I'm pretty sure we all know how well that decision worked out for Kiri. Danzo retorted. Itachi frowned. Kirigakura appointed the Yondaime Mizukage, Yagura, when he was 17 years old. 10 years had passed since his appointment, and the village of Kirigakura had fallen into a period of bloodshed and civil war due to the leadership of Yagura. Itachi pushed his teacup to the side of the table and glared at the crippled man. Danzo, what exactly are you wanting to talk to me about? Are you trying to threaten me in some way or something? Danzo let out a small chuckle. Threaten? No, of course not. I'm not one for threats. I simply act when I see a need for action. The man then glared back at Itachi. I just wanted to remind you of the importance of the position of Hokage. Your life is forfeit now. You belong to Konoha. Konoha's safety and power are all that should matter to you. I trust you will be able to act in the best interests of the village. The Uchiha nodded, not dropping his gaze. I will give my all for this village. The older man's glare intensified. For Konoha's sake, I hope it is enough. Just remember that what is in the best interest of the village may not always be the most ethical of decisions. Danzo got out of his chair and picked up his teacup. Bidding farewell to the Uchiha, he proceeded to walk out of the restaurant. Itachi was left alone at his table. What is he planning? Itachi mumbled to himself as he got out of his own chair. Itachi left the tea house as well and headed back home. He was going to need to get as much rest as he could. Tomorrow was going to be a big day for him. The next day came quickly for the people of Konoha. Celebration filled the streets of the village as villagers crowded around the Hokage's mansion. Many were buying decorations, food, and other items to commemorate the day while they wait for the inauguration of the Godaime. Inside the mansion, Uchiha Itachi was getting prepared for the inauguration in a locked room. His parents, Mikoto and Fugaku, his younger brother Sasuke, and his best friend Shisui were all waiting outside of the room impatiently for the soon-to-be Godaime. After a while, Itachi walked out dressed in the robes of the Hokage. Fugaku smiled proudly at his eldest son. Itachi, the robes suit you. You look like a true Kage, I'll say. Shisui added with a playful smirk. Looking good, Itachi. Itachi smiled in response back. Thank you. Now all we have to do is get you a little more personality, lest we have to live under the reign of the most boring Hokage in the history of ever. Shisui added. Itachi's smile dropped, and he gave a glare at his best friend. Shisui and Sasuke proceeded to laugh loudly at Shisui's joke. Fugaku chuckled lightly as well. Mikoto, however, ignored the laughing boys and walked over to her son. The woman had tears of joy in her eyes as she gazed at him. Itachi looked so dashing, so handsome. Mikoto told her son as she gave him a hug. I'm so proud of you. Her eldest son returned the hug and rubbed her back gently. Mother, I can hardly believe it. My little baby boy is the Hokage. Mikoto tightened her hug on Itachi. I remember back when you were just a year or two old, and you stole your father's forehead protector. You tried to so hard to get it on your head like him, but you couldn't, and you were crying, because you weren't a tough shinobi like your father. And that little baby boy has grown up into the most powerful shinobi in Konoha. Whoa. What was this about Itachi crying because he couldn't get a forehead protector tied to his head? Shisui interrupted the moment, his smirk seemingly growing. Itachi resisted the urge to blush, and shook his head. He pulled away from his hug with his mother, and gave her a look. Mother, please, I'd rather not discuss my early childhood right now. No, go on, Mom. What else do you have to say about Itachi? Sasuke added with a similar smirk to Shisui. Ah, Itachi. The robes suit you well. All Uchiha clan members in the room turned their heads. Sarutobi Hiruzen entered the room. The man was wearing a black mesh suit instead of the Hokage robes that he was generally seen wearing. He was holding the Hokage's red hat in his hands. Sandaime-sama, it's nice to see you. Fugaku bowed to the man. Is it time for the inauguration? Fugaku, I will soon no longer be active Hokage. Just call me Hiruzen. Hiruzen said with a slight chuckle. And yes, it is indeed time. Are you ready, Itachi? The Uchiha prodigy nodded in response. Then let's get going. The Sandaime suggested before turning to Itachi's family and Shisui. The four of you may want to head on outside. Make sure you get there before us. Got it. Mikoto nodded in understanding. Itachi, we are so proud of you. Do us proud, son. This is your day. Fugaku added. Itachi, in all seriousness, you're gonna be the best Hokage we've had. Shursui said with a smile. Sasuke gave no verbal reply. He gave his brother a thumbs up, which Itachi quickly returned with one of his own. The Uchiha prodigy's family, along with Shursui, left the room and headed on outside the mansion to join the festivities. Hiruzen and Itachi were left alone. The two men proceeded to walk further into the mansion, heading towards a nearby balcony. So, Hiruzen-san, what are you going to do now after you pass on the title to me? Itachi questioned, making a note to use the Sandame's name instead of his title. Well, I'll have a lot more free time now. Perhaps I'll try and be more involved in the ninja academy and try and help train the new generation. I always told myself that if I didn't get the Hokage position, I would have tried to be an academy instructor. Hiruzen answered with a chuckle. Only someone like you would have the patience for that job. Itachi responded with a similar laugh. Indeed. It takes a lot of patience, but it's definitely worth it. At the very least, it'll be a good way to kill time as I get older and older. The Sandame noted. After a minute of walking and some small conversation, Itachi and Hiruzen reached their destination, the balcony doors. Hiruzen walked forward onto the balcony, and stood at the end of the balcony. The people of Konoha saw their Sandame, and started to cheer as all eyes focused on him. Hiruzen delivered a speech, talking about his time as a shinobi and about his reign as the Sandame. He talked about how his return to the position after the death of the Yondaime, and how Konoha has recovered since the Kyuubi attack. He then talked about how the people of Konoha, both civilians and shinobi, were the strongest and most caring throughout the shinobi nations and how it was an honor for him to serve as their leader for so long. His speech received a loud applause from the crowd. After completing his speech, he turned his attention back, towards Itachi. The Uchiha nodded and proceeded to walk forward. He walked onto the balcony and stood next to Hiruzen. The eyes of the Konoha population turned towards the Uchiha. As my time as Hokage ends, I pass on the hat and the authority to the new generation. I trust that Konoha will prosper and grow under a new Hokage, Hiruzen declared as he held out the hat to Itachi. I present to you your Godame Hokage, Uchiha Itachi. Itachi took the hat from Hiruzen's hands and put it on his head. The reaction was instantaneous. The people of Konoha cheered loudly at the sight of the new Hokage. It's happening, this really is happening. Itachi let a sincere smile cross his lips as he turned his head towards different groups of people in the crowds below him. The reign of the Godame Hokage, Uchiha Itachi, has now begun. The next day, a couple of civilian architects arrived at Hokage Mountain. They were tired and seemed red in the face due to activities from the previous day's celebration, but they were all excited for the day ahead. I don't think I partied that hard since the Yondaime's inauguration, damn. That's why I don't drink much anymore. One of the architects noted as he rubbed his head. Quit bitching. You got a hangover, just like everyone of age in the village. Big whoop. Another architect retorted, rolling his eyes. The hungover architect glared in response. I'm pretty sure mine's worse than most other people. Don't tell me it's not a big deal. Guys, we can't be fighting now. We got a big day ahead of us. A third architect said with a large grin on his face. Today's the day. We get to work on the head for Godame-sama and add it to the mountain. We can't have any complainers or negative attitude. We need focus, and we need determination. All civilian architects, including the two that were arguing, nodded in agreement. The group of architects, after hours of setup and preparing equipment, reached the faces of the mountain to start construction of the Godame's face. Just as they arrived and were at the space reserved for the Godame, they noticed something. Hey boss! Someone's covered the entire area here with paint. One of the architects exclaimed. The lead architect, the one who rallied his fellow workers, rushed over and saw the area for the Godame's face. It was, indeed, covered in paint. The paint was still slightly wet and depicted a very crude depiction of Itachi's face. Underneath it was written a small phrase, All hail the Godame, but just you wait for the Rokadame. He'll be twice as cool. The architect, who had been preaching about positive attitudes, couldn't help but glow red in anger. He had a hunch at the culprit, and couldn't help but shout aloud his suspicions. Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto was, indeed, the culprit. After being notified about his painting, a group of Chunin and Jonin were sent out to capture Blonde and bring him to the Hokage to be reprimanded. It took them 2 hours before they were finally able to trap the academy student and bring him back to the Hokage's office. Heh, it keeps taking them longer and longer to catch me. Am I getting better at this stuff or what? Naruto chuckled to himself. The blonde was nearly tossed into the Hokage's office by the Jonin that had captured him. Naruto brushed off some dirt on his clothes before coming face to face with Itachi. The blonde rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Hi Godame-sama? Itachi sighed in response at seeing the boy's awkward response. Hello Naruto. Have a seat. Naruto sat down in a chair in front of Itachi's desk. The boy had a slight nervous look on his face. I'm not in trouble, am I? The old man would never punish me too hard for doing anything. He would just tell me to not do it again, Naruto explained, still rubbing the back of his head. He'd tell you not to do it again, but you would anyway. Itachi noted, resisting the urge to chuckle. I'm not going to punish you, Naruto. the newly appointed Godame stated. The Uzumaki immediately sighed in relief. A grin quickly came over his face. So then, did you like my paint job? I felt like I captured the real you. Itachi actually let a frown come over his face. You messed up my face. What? Naruto blinked in surprise before shaking his head. No way. I made sure to study you yesterday, Databeo. There's no way I did. I saw the painting on the mountain. My eyes aren't that narrow, and I don't look that unhappy. Itachi noted. It's not unhappy. You look serious. Like Naruto closed his eyes, trying to come up with the right wording. Like you have to fart, but are trying really, really hard to not let it out. Itachi immediately facepalmed, unable to resist the urge. Of all the ways to say that reminds me way too much of Shursui. Godame-sama, you okay? Naruto asked in confusion. I'm fine. Just don't refer to my face like that again, please. He requested. Sure, whatever. The Uzumaki shrugged in response. The Uchiha then realized something. He wanted to talk to Naruto, and changed topics to it. Naruto, if you don't mind me asking, how are you able to avoid the shinobi for so long? Huh? Naruto blinked in response. I sent both Chunin and Jonin out to bring you here and you avoided them for 2 hours. How were you able to do that? Itachi elaborated. Oh. The blonde's eyes widened in realization. I don't know exactly. I've just been good at hiding and stuff, you know? I've been practicing it and I'm quick. I'm just hard to catch. Itachi remained quiet for a few seconds, trying to understand the blonde's response. A few seconds passed before he spoke up. Naruto, from what I understand, you failed the graduation test to become a genin. The Uchiha noted. Naruto's face immediately stiffened in response. Hey, I didn't fail it. He exclaimed defensively. I was just trying to graduate 2 years early, and they told me I couldn't, so what? I was just trying to wonder how you wouldn't pass the graduation exam if you are able to avoid the pursuit of Chunin and Jonin shinobi. Itachi clarified. Based on that alone, I feel you should be a genin at least. Really? Naruto's eyes widened in response at Itachi's praise. The Uchiha Hokage nodded as he smiled in response. Try taking the test again early next year. I'm pretty confident you should be able to pass it then. Naruto's eyes actually started to water slightly. No one, other than the old man, Iruka, and the 2 workers at Ichiraka seemed to have any faith in him. Here, the new Hokage was saying that he faith in him as well. The blonde couldn't help but smile in response. Hey, I like you, Serious-sama. He exclaimed. Serious-sama? Itachi repeated the phrase with a hint of confusion in his voice. Well, that's what you are. You're the Godame, and you're always serious. You're Serious-sama. The blonde explained with the same smile. Itachi processed his newly appointed title and the logic behind it, and he laughed in response. Naruto, you remind me way too much of Shursui. The 2 of you need to meet at some point. Hey. What's so funny? Naruto questioned curiously. Hey, nothing. Just thinking. Itachi responded, his laughter dying down. You're free to head out now, Naruto. You're not in trouble. Just try and not to do too many pranks. I'd rather not have to have you get dragged to my office every day. Naruto nodded in response. He got up and was about to head on out the door when he heard his stomach growl loudly. A sheepish look appeared on his face, which was then followed by a pleading look. Serious-sama, the old man would sometimes take me out for ramen at Ichiraka. Would you want to come with me? He asked. Itachi closed his eyes in thought as he tried to remember if he had any appointments for the day. A second passed before he realized that he was, indeed, free. Sure, I wouldn't mind. A grin developed on Naruto's face as the blonde rushed over and pulled the Godame out of his desk. The 2 then left the mansion and headed off to go get dinner together at Ichiraka's. Naruto and Itachi had just created a bond between a future shinobi and his Hokage, a bond that would change their lives forever. Itachi's training. A day had passed since Hiruzen publicly declared Itachi as his successor. Both Hiruzen and Itachi knew that the Uchiha, despite being a prodigy, was not prepared to claim the title of Hokage. The Sandaime would need to train his successor. The 2 men met each other in the Hokage's office to begin this training. Itachi, it is probably going to be at least a year or 2 before I feel you are ready to take the hat and my title as Hokage. There are a lot of things that you need to know and be capable of before I feel comfortable with you being the Godame. Hiruzen explained. You are going to have to become aware of many S-rank secrets of Konoha. You're going to have to improve on your understanding of politics and figure out diplomatic responses to foreign and local leaders. You're going to have to become aware of every aspect of this village. And you are going to have to improve on your individual skills. You are indeed talented and are one of the greatest shinobi your generation has improved. But you are going to need to be constantly improving. You need to be ready to face any danger and threat to Konoha that could come at any given moment. I understand, Hokage-sama. Itachi responded immediately. Hiruzen, just call me Hiruzen Itachi. Hiruzen chided before continuing. Regardless, we have a lot to cover during these training sessions, and I figured the first day of training should be focused on the most difficult aspect of being Hokage. Itachi nodded again in understanding. What do you wish me to work on? The Sandaime gestured to his desk. Have a seat there, Itachi. The Uchiha nodded in response and took a seat at the Hokage's desk. Hiruzen proceeded to pull out a stack of papers from seemingly nowhere, and slammed them on the desk. Hokage-san Hiruzen? Itachi gave the man a strange look. This is just a sample of the paperwork you must complete as Hokage, Hiruzen said. Each paper must be studied, read carefully, and then responded to appropriately. You need to be careful. Occasionally, the civilian council will send a paper with a rather idiotic request. You want to make sure you don't accidentally pass a stupid law or something. Itachi turned his head in confusion. I am going to leave you with the paperwork, Itachi. I'll be back in about an hour or so to your progress. Good luck, Hiruzen said politely before he left the room. Itachi blinked in response before he turned his attention to the piles of paperwork. Is this the hardest part of the job? The Uchiha prodigy pulled out a piece of paper from the pile and started to study it. Well, I guess I should start. How hard can this be? An hour had passed when Hiruzen returned to the office. When he came into the room, he saw Itachi was studying a sheet of paper with near bloodshot eyes. Approximately 90% of the paperwork he had started with was completed and filed to the side of the desk accordingly. Itachi, how are you doing? The Sandaime asked cheerfully. Itachi gave no response. The boy continued to focus on the paper. He soon slammed the paper down on the Hokage's desk, signed it, put it with the piles of completed papers, and then pulled out another sheet. You look stressed, Hiruzen noted. You think? Itachi finally commented as he continued to focus on his next paper. A devious smirk developed on the older man's face. It would be a shame if, well, there was more paperwork that was needed to be done. Itachi turned away from his paper and stared at the Sandaime in surprise. The Hokage was, indeed, holding another giant stack of paperwork. Please, Lord of God, no, the Uchiha begged. Oh, but you must. It is the duty of the Hokage. Hiruzen chuckled as he placed a new pile of paperwork on the desk. Seeing the new stacks of paper that needed to be completed, Uchiha Itachi fell backwards in his chair and promptly passed out. Hiruzen started to laugh loudly in response. Well, I must say, he responded better than Minato did when he got assigned his first batch of paperwork. The Sandaime reminisced. Thankfully, another soul knows the agonizing feeling of paperwork. With that thought, Hiruzen left the room to get some tea to pass the time while Itachi was unconscious. The aged shinobi was daydreaming about a life without paperwork, and was actually looking forward to the day when Itachi succeeded him and he could finally leave the accursed paperwork behind. 1 year later. Alright class, we are going to spend the rest of the day working on the transformation jutsu. Sarutobi-sama is here to observe and help anyone that needs it, Irika announced to the class. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled to himself as he walked into the classroom. You can just call me Hiruzen, Irika. I thought I explained this to you a long time ago. Good morning, Hiruzen-sensei. The academy's students said in near unison as they stood up and bowed to the older man. Good morning. The former Hokage bowed back before turning his head towards Irika with a smile on his face. As you can see, the students are able to call me by my real name. What can I say? Old habits die hard. You're still the Sandaime to me. Irika answered with a laugh as he rubbed the back of his head. Hiruzen laughed again as well. Irika proceeded to call up the students to present their transformation jutsu. It was time to see how much they had understood the basics of the jutsu. Ever since stepping down as Hokage, Hiruzen had focused most of his free time working at the Konoha Ninja Academy with the students. He worked with all grades and ages and tried to provide insight and the proper push to help the students become the best shinobi they could be. After the first week that he was involved, he was starting to question the quality of the teaching at the academy, and he feared slightly for the future of Konoha's shinobi. A year later, and after a few revisions to the academy curriculum that he had pushed for, Hiruzen felt that the academy was training the students properly. His fears were put to rest in his mind. The next generation of Konoha shinobi was going to, in his mind, surpass the previous generations. One by one, the academy's students came up and presented the transformation jutsu. All of them were able to create a good transformation of a person of their choice. Considering their skill level of the average academy student, the former Hokage and Irika were greatly impressed. The transformation practice session continued along as more students showed off their transformations. Soon, it became the turn of Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto, do your best transformation jutsu, Irika requested as he wrote information about the other students' transformation on a piece of paper. Heh, I can do that. Naruto smirked as he made a hand sign. Transform. Oh boy, Hiruzen had an idea what was going to happen. The older man closed his eyes. Irika and the rest of the academy students kept their eyes open to witness Naruto's transformation. Naruto had transformed into a blonde woman around the age of 18. The woman was completely naked, with a few smoke clouds floating in the air around her covering specific parts on her body. The woman was posing in a very provocative manner to her teacher. Do you like my jutsu, Irika-sensei? She asked. Naruto, you're disgusting. Sakura growled from her place with the other students. You pervert. Ino shrieked. I should kill you for that. Irika rubbed away the small trace of blood from his nose before any of his students noticed it. He then glared at the woman in front of him and smacked her on the way. She yelped in pain, which caused Naruto to drop his transformation. Naruto, take this seriously. Irika shouted. What's the big deal? You asked for a transformation and I gave you one. The blonde asked as he rolled his eyes. He rubbed the top of his head, which was hurting slightly from Irika's attack. Hiruzen opened his eyes and sighed as he stared at Naruto. Naruto-kun, Irika and I just want to see your skills with the jutsu. We don't want to see any jokes or pranks. We want to see exactly what Uzumaki Naruto can do, the former Hokage stated as he smiled at the boy, like a grandfather would smile at his grandson. Can you do the jutsu one more time and do a legitimate transformation please? Naruto stared at Hiruzen for a few seconds before he sighed. Fine. I'll do it. How does he do it? Irika wondered as he watched Naruto make a hand sign. Ever since the former Sandaime started to show up at the academy, he noticed that Naruto had been improving in his skills. The boy paid more attention to class and put more effort in his work whenever Hiruzen was there. All it took was a smile and a few words from the older man and Naruto would sigh and do what he was told. I guess he just doesn't want to disappoint Sarutobi-sama. Transform. Naruto disappeared in another poof of smoke. In his place was the splitting image of Yumino Irika. The academy instructor, as well as the former Hokage, looked at the transformation in shock. You even got my scar down perfectly, Irika noted before he gave the boy a thumbs up. Very well done, Naruto. Very good job indeed. Hiruzen nodded in agreement before smiling again. Naruto dropped his transformation and walked back to his seat with a grin on his face. Class continued as Irika and Hiruzen witnessed the transformations of the remaining few students. After the demonstrations, Irika gave them a lecture to further explain the technique and help them improve on it. Naruto yawned and looked as if he was going to fall asleep during Irika's lecture. Hiruzen gave the blonde a pointed look. The Uzumaki, after seeing Hiruzen's look, shook his head in frustration before paying closer attention to Irika. The exchange between the academy student and the former Hokage was quick and subtle, but Irika noticed it. This caused the academy instructor to frown internally. Seriously, how does he do it? What about Sarutobi-sama causes Naruto to pay attention? Irika wondered to himself. He tried to ignore his questions and any thoughts of self-doubt about his teaching abilities. He, instead, focused on the lesson he was giving to his class. Uchiha Itachi sat at his desk in the Hokage's office. The young man was reading a mission report for a B-ranked mission he had assigned to a team of Chunin. At first, like his predecessors, the Godame hated the very idea of paperwork. After doing it for a year straight, however, Itachi became accustomed to it and was able to do it rather quickly. He soon found it to be enjoyable at times. He usually did his paperwork alone, when it was quiet. He was able to simply enjoy the silence and be at peace. Itachi was about to finish the mission report when the door to his office was slammed open. The loud noise caused him to drop the paper in surprise and nearly had him fall out of his chair. Hey Itachi! Itachi! The Uchiha picked up the mission report from the ground and looked up to see his best friend, Uchiha Shursui, standing in the room. The Uchiha Jonin was holding a scroll and a mission report in his hand. Shursui, we've gone over this multiple times. Knock next time. Itachi requested with a heavy sigh. Itachi, we've known each other for years now. When do I ever knock? Shursui rolled his eyes. The Godame Hokage shook his head in response. I swear, I have no idea how you are older than me. You're 21 years old, and you act like a 12-year-old genin, and I have no idea how you are so young. You act like what I expect the Sandaime, or one of his teammates will act like 10 years from now. The Jonin responded. One of us has to be the mature one. Itachi stated as he rolled his eyes. And thank God it is you. I'd hate to be all stiff and serious all the time. Way too boring. Shursui exclaimed. The two Uchiha stared at each for a few seconds before Shursui burst into laughter. Itachi chuckled as well, but he was not nearly as loud as his friend. It's been a while. How was your last mission? Itachi asked. Completed, of course. Shursui responded with a smirk as he tossed the mission report in his hand to the Hokage. No injuries or anything either. No injuries or problems at all. On an A-rank mission? Impressive work. Itachi complimented as he caught the mission report. I'll take the compliment, but it's kinda undeserved. That mission was an A-rank just because the client was super rich and therefore had the extra money to spend, Shursui said as he rolled his eyes. No fun at all. One guy tried to rob us and I showed him why that was a dumb thing to do and he ran away. That was all the action on the mission. Were you looking for some excitement or something? The Godame asked as he moved the new mission report to his pile of paperwork that still needed to be completed. Kinda actually. I don't know. The Jonin shrugged in response with a sigh. I'm glad everything's kinda peaceful right now in the village. You know me better than most people. I'm really happy everything has been peaceful. But I don't know, I just feel like I'm not doing anything worthwhile right now. I feel like I'm just sitting on my ass and doing lame missions you could assign to a frickin' genin team and not doing something that could actually help the village, you know? I've been giving you high-ranked missions. It's just been bad luck you've been getting easy missions as you see it. Then again, most people would consider that lucky. You're just unusual. Itachi noted. And damn proud of it. Shursui exclaimed, crossing his arms. Itachi smiled, but he was also a little upset that his friend was frustrated. Shursui, despite his eccentric personality, cared about the village greatly and always wanted to do whatever he could for the village. Itachi was troubled that his friend felt as if he wasn't doing anything worthwhile for Konoha. Itachi's eyes widened as he thought of something. If you want something worthwhile, I'll have something for you to do. Hey Itachi! You there? Shursui questioned, waving his hand in front of the Hokage's face. Oh. Sorry. The Godame apologized. I zoned out thinking of something. Understandable. You got a lot of things to do, Mr. Godame. Shursui snickered as he started to walk to the door. Don't want to be a bother for too long. I'll just leave you be for now and come visit you later when you have some time to kill. Itachi chuckled. See you later, Shursui. His best friend waved goodbye before leaving the room. Itachi then turned back to his paperwork. Continuing with the mission report he was looking over before his friend came in. You may hate me for it, but I'll have something for you to do that's worthwhile to Konoha. Itachi noted in his head, thinking about his friend. His eyes then narrowed on the mission report. Now where was I in this? Class dismissed. Irika said to his students. The academy students gathered their things and rushed out of the building, heading off to their homes. After his students left, Irika started to gather his things and head back to his apartment. Just as he started to leave, he was stopped by Hiruzen. Irika, may I have a moment of your time? He requested. The academy instructor nodded in response and stopped walking. He turned to face the older man. How can help Hiruzen? Irika asked, changing the name of the man in front to his preferred name. Now was that so hard? Hiruzen asked with a chuckle. Again, old habits are hard to kill. You've been the Hokage for as long as I can remember. It's just hard sometimes. Irika said with a laugh of his own. Now, what did you want to talk about? I was going to ask about the upcoming graduation exam in 2 days and the requirements to graduate. Hiruzen noted. We aren't changing them. Irika answered. It's the same as they've always been. A written test about the history and concepts of being a shinobi that they need to know, then a test on their weapon skills, and then a demonstration of the academy basic jutsu. I realize that. I think the requirements are a good standard. Hiruzen stated, but a slight frown was evident on his face. However, I've been observing the students that are going to take the exam and I've noticed 2 students who I worry whether or not they are applicable to the standards of the test. Irika's eyes widened, realizing what the former Hokage was talking about. If you are referring to Rock Lee, we are aware of his condition. We are taking into consideration his condition and seeing how well he does in the other categories, the instructor stated with a smile. I really believe Lee can be one of the best shinobi we've ever had. I agree, and Lee was one of my main worries. Hiruzen said, a smile on his face as well. Irika then realized that Hiruzen also mentioned another student. Wait, who else are you concerned about? Naruto. The former Hokage answered. Naruto? Irika asked in confusion. You talk with the boy all the time, Irika. Surely you knew he was taking the exam to try and graduate early again. Hiruzen said with a laugh. I did, but I didn't think he needed to be put under different standards to graduate. The academy instructor responded, still confused. Why are you concerned? He's trying to graduate early. If he fails, then he takes the exam again next year and graduate when he is supposed to. He's not technically expected to be at the skill level of students a whole year ahead of him. I realize that. However, that's not what I am concerned about with him. The older shinobi answered. What are you concerned about then? Irika questioned. You have noticed that Naruto has improved greatly this past year in his grades and his ability to use the basic jutsus with the exception of the clone jutsu, correct? Hiruzen questioned. When the Chunin nodded, he continued. I've been working with him, as well with the other students. Naruto really has improved greatly in every aspect, and is willing to apply himself and learn. However, no matter how much he tries, he can never perform the clone jutsu. No matter how much you or I or anyone explains the concepts involved in the jutsu, he cannot use it. I believe Naruto's condition prevents him from using the little amount of chakra needed for the jutsu. Hiruzen stated. The academy instructor's eyes widened at the realization. The fox? Hiruzen nodded. He has a lot of chakra. Too much chakra to be able to concentrate such a little amount, and use the clone jutsu. He noted. Therefore, when he takes his exam, I feel as if he should be judged on his other abilities. He should not be denied his graduation because he has too much chakra. Irika remained quiet as he thought about this information. He had never considered this before and that was bothering him greatly. I'm not saying to pass the boy. Believe me, if he doesn't deserve promotion, then he should not be promoted. I do think, though, he shouldn't be punished and held back a year simply because he has too much chakra. Hiruzen clarified what he was saying. I'll bring this up with the other instructors. Irika said quietly as he looked downward to the ground. I can't believe I never noticed that before. If I did, I could have helped him better a long time ago. Sometimes we miss things, Irika. The former Hokage said sadly as he placed his hand on Irika's shoulder. To be honest, I've noticed a few things this past year that I had been ignorant about too. Many of them are related to Naruto, actually. Hiruzen openly frowned at this. He did not realize the full extent of Naruto's potential. Not did he know just how lonely the boy was even though he was surrounded by children his age, people ignorant of Naruto's condition that he thought Naruto could befriend. And it bothers me greatly that I had been unaware of things before, but there's nothing you can do about the past. What you can do, however, is know these things for the future. That way, you can act on them and also be more aware of things. You're right. Iruka looked back up at Hiruzen and gave him a smile. Thanks for coming to the academy and helping Naruto and the other kids. It's the least I can do, Iruka. Thank you for letting me come into your classes. Hiruzen replied with a similar smile. He then heard a noise come from the academy instructor's stomach, which caused him to laugh out loud as the Chunin turned red in embarrassment. Would you like to go get something to eat with me, Iruka? Despite his embarrassment, Iruka smiled as he nodded in affirmation. 2 days had passed, and it was time for the graduation exam. The class scheduled to graduate walked into the academy and took their seats while waiting to receive their tests. In addition to them, there were a couple of students attempting to graduate early. Today's the day, Naruto told himself as he walked in. This isn't like last time. I am going to pass Databeo. The Uzumaki walked in and looked for a seat to sit in the room. As he scanned the room for one, he found an open seat in the corner of the room. To his surprise, though, he recognized the girl sitting in the seat next to it. She was a girl with short, indigo hair and was wearing a cream-colored jacket and navy blue pants. Naruto rushed over to her and took the chair next to her. Hinata? The blonde called out her name. The girl gasped as she turned to face the blonde. She was distracted with her thoughts and didn't even notice him there. Now, seeing the blonde, her cheeks started to redden. And Naruto-kun, you are taking the graduation exam early? She asked in surprise. Hell yeah. I'm gonna be Hokage, so I need to get out of the academy as fast as I can to train properly, Databeo. Naruto declared confidently. What about you? I didn't know you were going to try and graduate early. I didn't plan on it at first. But my father and some of the elders in my clan wanted me to graduate early when they heard that Sasuke-san was going to graduate early. The Hyuga answered quietly as she pressed her index fingers together. Sasuke? Naruto started to scan the crowd of students looking for the Uchiha. It took him a few seconds, but he found him sitting on the opposite side of the room. He had his head lying on the desk. I forgot he was trying to graduate early. He was talking about that a little bit ago. Something about not wanting to fall behind his brother or something? Hinata nodded slowly. His father has been talking about him and the Hokage for a while. So my father wants me to become Genin, so our clan doesn't seem weaker than the Uchiha clan. I see. Naruto's eyes widened. It's all about a bunch of political crap. Hinata giggled at Naruto's blunt manner of speaking. Pretty much. The doors opened to the classroom again. Iruka entered the room and he was followed by a few other academy instructors. They were all holding different papers in their hands. Well, I guess we're starting this. Naruto realized as he gave the girl a thumbs up. Good luck, Hinata, the shy Hyuga blushed in response. Why, you as well? Oh boy, here it comes, Naruto gulped. The blonde managed to take the written test. He felt halfway decently about it. He also felt confident in his performance during the weapons portion of the exam. Now, however, was the part he was worried about, the academy basic jutsus. Naruto was not worried about his substitution or transformation. What he was concerned about was the clone jutsu. He knew that it was his weakest aspect, and he also knew that even when he tried his hardest, he could never create a single clone. Whatever, today I'll make a good clone. I'm graduating today, damn it. He told himself. One by one, the students in the room went to the back to get tested on their jutsus. Naruto waited impatiently as he waited for his time. Nearly an hour passed before he saw one of the academy instructors, a tall man that he didn't recognize, come out and call his name. Showtime, Naruto mumbled to himself as he got up from his seat. The blonde followed the instructor to a large, open room. Iruka was there, along with the other academy instructors. Each of them were staring at him intently. Uzumaki Naruto, we will begin the third portion of the graduation exam. You will be tested on the academy basic jutsus. The tall instructor stated. The first jutsu you will be tested on is the substitution jutsu. He pointed to a pile of logs in the corner of the room. Please replace yourself with one of the logs over there. Naruto nodded in understanding. He performed a set of hand signs before activating the jutsu. In a second, the boy disappeared and was replaced with one of the logs. Naruto was now sitting in the corner on top of another log. Okay. Another instructor, a woman with blonde hair, noted. Now we will test you on the substitution jutsu. Uzumaki Naruto, please transform into any of the instructors here in this room. Naruto nodded as he walked back to the center of the room. He made a hand sign and disappeared into a poof of smoke. The smoke cleared and he had transformed into a near-perfect copy of Iruka. He even got your scar right, Iruka-san. The blonde-haired woman noted as she studied the boy's transformation. No one ever does. I don't know what's so difficult about it. Iruka chuckled as he stared at the boy with pride. Good job, Naruto. The blonde dropped the transformation and returned the smile with one of his own. Now, it was time for the part he was worried about, the clone jutsu. The academy instructors started to discuss quietly amongst each other, confusing Naruto. The blonde was anxious about the clone jutsu and wanted to get it out of the way. He didn't want to wait too long. A minute passed before the instructors stopped talking to each other. Iruka looked at the boy with a large smile on his face. Congratulations, Uzumaki Naruto. You are now an official genin of Konoha. The scarred Chunin declared as he held out a Konoha forehead protector to the blonde boy. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. He blinked multiple times before he spoke up. Is that it? Oh, like you don't want me to do the clone jutsu? He asked hesitantly. It was brought to our attention that you may be incapable of ever using the clone jutsu due to the sheer amount of chakra you possess. Therefore, we were testing you solely on your other abilities, taking into account that you can't create clones. The blonde instructor explained. She had a surprised look on her face. Are you surprised or nervous or something? Do you not want to be a genin? No. I do. Naruto shook his head in response. His confusion went away and the blonde was now smiling. His smile was the most sincere one he had ever had on his face. His eyes were also tearing up slightly. Thank you all so much. I promise you won't regret this. The blonde took his forehead protector and bowed to the academy instructors. He then left the classroom with a smile that was seemingly never going to disappear. I'm a genin. I'm a genin. I'm a genin. Naruto repeated the same phrase over and over as he walked down the streets of Konoha to his apartment. He was finally on the path to achieving his goal and becoming Hokage. Here are the list of the academy graduates, Hokage-sama. Yumino Iruka stated as he handed a file to the Godame. Thank you, Iruka. You are dismissed. Itachi said as he took the file. Iruka bowed before leaving the Hokage's office. Itachi, now alone, opened the file and started to look at the names of those that passed. The first name that stuck out to him was his brother's name. Itachi smiled when he saw that Sasuke had graduated. He knew from observing his little brother the past year that Sasuke was getting stressed a lot more, and was focusing more and more on his training. He also knew the boy was not getting much sleep. Seeing him become genin early would hopefully show Sasuke that his training was improving his skills and help him calm down. After seeing Sasuke's name, the Hokage then looked at the rest of the list. He recognized most of the students' names, as he was trying to make a conscious effort to remember the name and face of all of the villagers. However, only a few of the names on the list seemed to stick out to Itachi as potential shinobi. Itachi couldn't help but chuckle when he got to the end of the list and noticed the name Uzumaki Naruto the Uchiha had become acquainted with the blonde boy decently, as the boy was sent to his office bi-weekly by shinobi for pulling some sort of prank on Konoha. While Itachi wouldn't consider himself particularly close to the blonde, he did enjoy his company and was happy to see that he became a genin as he wished. Now to design the genin teams, Itachi told himself as he looked at the names. He pulled up another file that he had put aside, a list of all the available jonin that could take on a genin team. He put the list side by side against the list of the academy graduates, and started to think about possible, effective genin teams. A week had passed since the graduation exam. Uzumaki Naruto walked into the academy with a large grin on his face. The blonde was wearing the Konoha forehead protector on his forehead proudly. As the blonde entered the designated classroom, he started to look for an open seat. He saw one next to a familiar black-haired classmate of his that his head lying on the desk. The blonde rushed over and took the spot. Hey Sasuke. He greeted the classmate. Sasuke lifted his head and faced Naruto. The boy had black lines under his eye. Morning, Naruto. I see you passed the exam as well. Sasuke noted with a smile on his face. Of course I did. And I see you did as well. Naruto stated as he pointed to Sasuke's forehead protector. The Uchiha said with a yawn. Now the goal is to get to Chunin in a year or two. Heh, I bet I can get to Chunin before you can. The Uzumaki declared. The black-haired boy raised his eyebrows in a taunting fashion. You sure about that? I am. Naruto exclaimed. He put his hand to his head in a thinking gesture before he snapped his finger, coming up with an idea. How about this? Whoever becomes Chunin first wins. The loser has to buy the winner dinner. Deal. Sasuke nodded in understanding as he held out his hand. Just so you know, I don't lose. Likewise. Naruto stated as he shook the Uchiha's hand. After making the bet, Sasuke yawned before he laid his head back down on his desk. Naruto laughed slightly. The Uchiha boy was different than what he had expected him to be. When Naruto had first met him in the academy, Naruto thought he was going to be arrogant due to all the praise he was getting for being an Uchiha and a prodigy. Naruto soon realized after a few conversations with him that Sasuke was anything but arrogant. Competitive, yes, but not arrogant. He was just a quiet boy who seemed to have some interest in mischief. The few times he talked to Sasuke, Naruto always had fun. With Sasuke trying to sleep, though, Naruto sat down at his chair quietly while waiting to hear about what was going to happen now that he was a genin. A few minutes passed by and more students entered the room. Iruka then finally entered the room, holding a list of names. He stood at a podium in the front of the room, stared at all of the students, and started to smile. From this day forward, you are all genin of Konoha. As one of your academy teachers, I just want to let you all know how proud I am of you. Iruka told the class with a smile on his face. You've all done excellent in your studies and training. I believe with all my heart that this may be one of the finest classes Konoha has ever produced, and I can't wait to see what extraordinary shinobi you all become. Many of the academy graduates were beaming at the praise. Naruto, himself, had a large smile on his face. Now I'm going to not waste any time for you all. As you all know, you are all going to be placed into teams of 3 under one Jonin Sensei. I'm going to read the names of the teams. Pay attention carefully, because I will not repeat myself. Iruka declared as he pulled the list close to his face. Now Team 1. Naruto tried his best to pay attention to the members of the teams, but he failed. Considering he had graduated a year early, he had no idea who the members of the graduating class were. Therefore, he didn't really care which person was in which team, he just kept his ears focused, waiting for his name. Team 5. Iruka stared as he started to read a new set of names: Uzumaki Naruto, Tenten, and Hyuga Niji. That's me! Naruto exclaimed excitedly as he started to look around the classroom for his teammates. In the front of the room, Naruto noticed a kunoichi with brown hair styled into buns on the top of her head. She was wearing a pink sleeveless blouse and green pants. Naruto noticed the girl seemed to have a smile on her face after hearing the names in the team, so he assumed that she was Tenten. The Uzumaki looked around the classroom, but he saw no one else had a reaction. Whoever Hyuga Niji was, he had no reaction whatsoever to hearing his name called. The blonde shrugged. Whatever. I'll meet him in a little bit. Iruka continued reading more teams. Naruto didn't seem to pay attention until Iruka got to the end of his list. Team 9, Rock Lee, Hyuga Hinata, and Uchiha Sasuke. Hinata did pass. Naruto's eyes moved back to the room. In the farmost corner at the top of the classroom, he noticed Hinata there. Guess she and Sasuke are going to be on the same team. At least they have someone they know. Naruto's eyes widened as he then realized something. Wait a second, her last name is the same as my teammates. Is she related to him or something? Iruka read off one more team before putting the list down. Those are your teams. You will now have an hour break to go get lunch. Report back here in an hour to meet your Jonin Sensei. You are all dismissed. The academy graduates stood up in their chairs and walked out with friends and or their teammates to go eat together. Naruto got up from his chair and stretched before he looked around the classroom. Alright, time to go find my teammates. Where's Naruto mumbled to himself as he turned in the direction of where he thought Tenten was. When he turned in the direction, he saw she was no longer there. She had already left the room. Naruto walked out of the building and started to look amongst the newly made Genin for Tenten. He did not see her. The boy also tried to find his other teammate, but considering he had no idea what Niji looked like, he couldn't find the boy. Fine. Guess I'm eating lunch by myself, Naruto said with a sigh. The Uzumaki walked off alone as he went to go get himself food. This sucks, I didn't even get to have a good lunch. Naruto whined as he rubbed his stomach. There's no good place near the academy. The Uzumaki walked back into the classroom an hour after being dismissed. The boy was irritated. He scanned the room for his teammates upon entering. He then spotted the same girl with brown hair styled into buns. Naruto immediately rushed over to her. Hey! Are you Tenten? He questioned. Yes. And you are? The girl answered while studying him. I was looking for you after Iruka-sensei dismissed us. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto greeted. Oh. You're the kid in my team that graduated early. Tenten realized after hearing his response. Hey! I'm not a kid. The Uzumaki responded loudly. You're younger than me, so you're a kid to me. Tenten declared with a playful smirk. She held out her hand. Nice to meet you, Naruto. Sorry for disappearing on you then. I had to go meet up with a friend really quick. That's no big deal. Nice to meet you too, Naruto said as he shook her hand. Now all I have to do is figure out who Niji is. You don't know Niji? The girl questioned with a surprised look on her face. No. Remember, not in your graduating class? I don't know a single person here except for the 2 other people who graduated early. Naruto answered with a shrug. Still, thought you would have known him. The academy instructor loved to talk about Niji. Tenten rolled her eyes as she spoke. The brown-haired girl pointed to a boy sitting a few tables behind them. He had black hair that he wore in a ponytail, and white eyes. He wore a khaki-colored shirt and dark brown shorts. The boy was sitting quietly in his chair with a stern expression on his face. That's him, she answered. Naruto started to walk over in the direction of him. I'll go say hi then. To his surprise, Tenten grabbed him by the arm and pulled him backwards towards her and away from the boy. When the blonde looked at her surprise, he saw that she was shaking her head. Just wait until we meet up with our sensei. Niji's a jackass, and you may want to put off knowing him for as long as you can, she explained. How bad is he? Naruto asked in surprise. Major superiority complex and claims how it is fate for him to be better than the others. Tenten rolled her eyes. Seriously? I'm kinda simplifying it, but yeah, pretty much. Shit, I guess we do have a major jackass on our team. Naruto sighed in annoyance. He is, but hey, at least he's a good ninja. That means he won't hold us back. Tenten offered before she started to study the blonde again. So, what are you capable of, Naruto? Anything interesting? Me? A grin appeared on his face. Well, I'm good at Team 5. Hey, Naruto and Tenten turned around to face the door to the room and stood. The boy identified as Niji stood up as well. Standing in the doorway was a young man with unkempt short black hair with the konoha forehead protector underneath. He had on the standard konoha jacket over a black shirt, and wore black pants. He also had a sword attached to the back of his outfit. The man had a smirk on his face. "So I take it you three are Naruto, Tenten and Neji?" he asked. Seeing the three of them nod, he started to walk off. "The name's Uchiha Shursui and I'm gonna be your Jonin Sensei. We got a few things to talk about, so I'd follow me if I were any of you." The three newly assigned members of Team 5 hurried out of their seats to follow the man, Shursui, wherever he was going. The three newly appointed genin followed Shursui all the way to a playground outside of the academy. Not a single kid was there, so the playground was left for them alone. "Dips on the swing!" Shursui shouted to the genin as he bolted forward. Naruto and Tenten watched in surprise as the jonin seemingly disappeared and reappeared above the swing on the playground. He got on the swing and started to swing immediately. Naruto and Tenten looked at the man in complete surprise while Neji looked on in indifference. The three of them made no move towards Shursui. "Come on guys! Get over here!" The Uchiha shouted at them. "Take a seat on one of the other swings." Neji shook his head as he walked forward. Naruto and Tenten followed. The Hyuga sat down on the ground. His two teammates sat down next to him. Naruto decided to take this moment to introduce himself to his teammate. "Nice to meet you, Neji." "I'm Naruto," the blonde said as he held out his hand. "I know your name." Iruka said it after he announced the members of our team. Neji said sharply, not even looking at the blonde, "Don't get in my way and we'll get along fine, Naruto." "What's that supposed to mean?" Naruto snapped at him. "I also recognize your name from another source. You're the troublemaker that pranks the village for attention. You're considered a good-for-nothing loser with no real talent." The Hyuga shook his head. "Frankly, I do not know how you managed to become a shinobi, but who am I to question fate? Again, just don't get in my way." The Uzumaki glared at the Hyuga. He was about to open his mouth to respond back, but he was interrupted by the jonin. Hey, no fighting. Not yet at least." Shursui shouted from the swing. "Come on, does no one want to swing with me? It's fun." The three academy graduates stared at the jonin in confusion. Another second passed before Shursui jumped off the swing and sat down in front of them. He had a frown on his face. "None of you are fun," he sighed. "We're just confused, Shursui-sensei. I thought you wanted to talk to us about something about the team, not take us out to the playground." Tenten replied uneasily. "Meh, fair point." Shursui sighed. "Well, whatever, we can do the boring business stuff. So can you all tell me about yourselves? What do you want to know?" Naruto asked. Shursui brought his hand to his face and rubbed a non-existent beard thoughtfully. "How about you all tell me your name, your interests, why you wanted to become a shinobi, and what your plan is for the future." The jonin then proceeded to point to the blonde. "Since you were the one to ask, how about you go first?" Okay. "Sure," Naruto said as he pointed his thumb at his chest. "The name's Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, designing and performing pranks on people, and gardening. I've wanted to be a shinobi my whole life after hearing all sorts of stories about different shinobi, and then decided I was going to do it when I met the old man Sandame. My plan for the future is to become the best Hokage our village has had and earn the respect of all the villagers here." Neji shook his head in response. "The Hokage are chosen from the elite shinobi. A boy like you with no real talent will never become Hokage. And what do you know?" Naruto started. "Moving along!" Shursui shouted loudly, causing Naruto to stop talking. The Uchiha turned to Neji. "You seem to have a lot to say. Want to share about yourself?" The boy shrugged in response. "I'm Hyuga Neji. I don't have anything I'm particularly interested in. I became a shinobi as it is part of my duty as a member of the branch family of the Hyuga clan." Neji's fist tightened in anger, but it eased up a second later. "I have no plans for the future. Fate will determine what will happen for me." "What kind of answer is that? Fate will determine what will happen?" "Bullshit." Naruto rolled his eyes. "And they say the Uchiha can be assholeless actually, that is true." Shursui corrected his thoughts before continuing. "But seriously, that fate complex is going to get annoying, and it's going to hold him back in his missions and his teamwork. I'm going to have to find some way to beat it out of him fast." Last but not least, Shursui then turned his attention to the sole girl on the team. "My name's Tenten. No family name or anything." Tenten started her introduction. "I like practicing with different weapons, doing volunteer work at the Konoha orphanage, fortune-telling, and reading. I wanted to become a shinobi growing up hearing stories about the shinobi in the orphanage in Konoha. I then wanted to become a shinobi to help out Konoha, and my plan for the future is to become a legendary kunoichi, like Tsunade of the Sannin." "She's an orphan too?" Naruto realized after her introduction. He stared at his teammate with a newfound sense of understanding. "Honorable. Very honorable," Shursui said with a nod. "And you, sensei?" Naruto asked. Why not?" The Uchiha shrugged in response before he stood up and clapped his hands together in a dramatic fashion. "I'm Uchiha Shursui. I like pulling pranks, just like Naruto here. I also like fireworks, parties, music, and excitement. I kinda just like having fun and always making sure I'm doing something." The Uchiha's face then dropped as he became serious. I was born during the Third Shinobi World War and my mom died in combat against a squad of Kiri shinobi. That's what inspired me to become a shinobi. I don't want to see anyone close to me die again. I want to make sure I can be able to do something and protect the people I care about. That also ties into my plans for the future. I'm going to be here in Konoha and do my best to make sure the village stays peaceful and that everyone I care about can live a full life. Naruto, Tenten, and even Neji were staring at the Uchiha in surprise after his reason for becoming a shinobi and his plans for the future. They had started to gain some respect for the man that was going to be their sensei. A few seconds passed before Shursui's serious expression dropped and a playful look came over his face. Oh, I guess another plan for the future is to love my virginity soon. Immediately, that newfound respect disappeared. We did not need to know that, Shursui-sensei. Naruto exclaimed loudly. What? Shursui blinked in confusion before a frown came over his face. I'm over 20 and I still haven't lost it yet. No one's interested in me, I guess. Is that not pathetic of me? Pervert Tenten was glaring at the Uchiha. How does wanting to lose my virginity make me a pervert? Shursui rolled his eyes. It's not like I'm reading porn out in public. Hatake Kakashi was currently walking down the streets of Konoha reading an orange book when he sneezed. Wonder if anyone's thinking about me, Kakashi wondered. Suddenly, a thought entered his head. Oh yeah? Today's the day of the graduation from the academy. I guess I ought to pick up my students. The man proceeded to walk to the academy, still reading his book. What kind of person reads porn in public for everyone to see? Some kind of super pervert? Naruto asked in confusion. If you get far enough in your career, you'll meet him. He's actually a pretty cool guy, if you can look past a lot of his quirks. Shursui answered with a shrug. Neji shook his head in frustration. How you and your friend became Jonin, I have no idea. Fate has a funny sense of humor, doesn't it? The Uchiha commented with a snicker. Neji responded by glaring at the man. Well, now I know a little bit more about you and now you know more about me. Shursui declared. More than we'd like to know, Naruto mumbled. Pervert Tenten added with a glare. Not a pervert. Shursui rolled his eyes. Anyway, back on topic. We've got to talk about the Genin test you all have tomorrow. Tenten and Neji stopped glaring and gave the sensei a confused look. What do you mean Genin test? Didn't we just pass it? Naruto asked in confusion. Oh yeah. I forgot they don't tell you about this in the academy. Shursui chuckled to himself. Basically, the test you just took was a pretest, if you want to call it that. You aren't officially Genin yet. So tomorrow, the three of you are going to take a test that I will assign you all to make sure you are all ready to become Genin. It's a Buddham. The Uchiha stopped talking, as if he was thinking of something. A few seconds passed before he started to speak up. I remember now, it's a 66% chance of failure. Shursui's explanation of the Genin test and his nonchalant manner in explaining it surprised the academy graduates. Neji's eyes were wide while Naruto and Tenten were both openly gaping at their sensei. The Uchiha Jonin watched their reactions to his announcement, and started to laugh loudly in response. Yep, this sensei thing actually is kinda fun. Hopefully they pass tomorrow. Uchiha Shursui delivered the news about the true Genin exam to his students. He gave them information about the statistics, and the location of his exam. After relaying all of the information and answering any questions, the Jonin dismissed his students. The three of them left to go prepare for their exam the next day. Once they had left, Shursui went on his way home as well. Unlike his students, however, he had plans to enjoy the night. He was going to go out partying with a few of his friends. There was an unofficial tradition between Shursui and his friends. When no one in their friend group was out of the village due to missions, they would all meet up at a bar and go drinking. Tonight was one of the nights where everyone was in the village, and Shursui was sure as hell not going to pass up a night of drinking. The Uchiha left his apartment at around 7 at night, and arrived at the bar shortly after. At the door, he was greeted by a man in green spandex with a bowl haircut. Shursui-san, you are here at last. The man stated excitably as he rushed over and placed his hand on the Uchiha's shoulder. Hey, what's up, guy? Shursui asked with a chuckle. Still waiting on Kakashi? The man, guy, had a tendency where he waited for everyone to arrive at the bar before he sat down himself and had a drink. It was something Shursui respected, but it was not something he himself could ever do. No, Shursui-san, you were the last one to arrive. Kakashi has been here for a while. Guy pointed out as he started to walk away from the door and towards the bar chairs. Wait, hold on a second. Kakashi, of all people, beat me here? Shursui asked with wide eyes before his face fell in mock depression. Well, if that doesn't make you feel bad, I don't know what will. Do not trouble yourself about your tardiness. I was previously with Kakashi and I simply dragged him over to the bar with me. I fear he, as hip and cool as he always is, would still be away if I wasn't with him to bring him here. Guy replied with a loud, spirited laugh. Still, sorry for being the one to keep you away from everyone. The Uchiha still apologized. The two men started to walk through the bar towards a few seats at the end. There, Shursui recognized everyone there, Mitarashi Enko, Gekko Hate, Sarutobi Asuma, and Hatake Kakashi. Look who's finally here. Asuma noted with a smirk. He had a bottle of sake in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Yeah? Sorry about that. Shursui apologized again. Not like anyone but Guy was waiting on you. Anko responded as she held out a bottle of sake towards the Uchiha. I covered your first one, 'cause I'm in a good mood. Now, let's get you wasted already. You. In a good mood? Who did you kill? The Uchiha snickered as he took a bottle of sake. Oh, just a little spy that we discovered about a week ago. The purple-haired woman answered. A silence filled the air for a few seconds before Shursui spoke up. Shit, I was just kidding. You actually did kill someone. This surprises you? Asuma questioned. This is Anko we are talking about. Anko actually laughed at that. She then started to speak about the reason for her good mood. We ended up catching a spy that was working for Orochimaru, Ibiki, and I got him to squeal like a little runt, and after that, I got permission from our good buddy Hokage-sama to off the son of a bitch myself. The purple-haired woman stopped talking to take a drink from her own sake bottle before continuing. But yeah, any information on that snake bastard and possibly catching him will make me happy. So, enjoy the sake. I will. And I'll drink to that. Shursui stated as he raised his bottle. Likewise. Asuma added, raising his own. I will as well. Guy exclaimed. Hate chuckled to himself before raising his own bottle of sake, giving his agreement. Kakashi raised his thumb in agreement. The man did not have a bottle of sake, as he was not much a drinker. Honestly, he only went to these bar nights simply because Guy always requested it. Although the copy ninja had to admit that they usually ended up being pretty funny, the collective group of shinobi minus Kakashi took a drink from their bottles and started to chat about various different topics. They spent a long time going over Hyde's relationship with his girlfriend Yugao, Asuma's romantic interest in a red-eyed newly made jonin, Guy's various competitions against Kakashi, and other different topics. After a few bottles of sake, Hade started a new topic. Sohem he coughed before continuing to speak. Did any of you get assigned a genin team? Yup. Kakashi raised his hand in response. And the team of brats has already failed, am I right? Asuma questioned with a snicker. I guess so. Kakashi said with a shrug. I got a boy who is emotionally distraught because he didn't get put on a team with his girlfriend, a boy who was forced into the academy by his parents and doesn't want to become a shinobi at all, and a girl who thinks she's better than her classmates because both of her parents are jonin. The copy ninja stopped talking to Sai. I'm going to give them the bell test, but I don't think they are going to pass. That's unfortunate, Kakashi. I was hoping that both of us would be passing our teams. Guy stated dramatically. I had high hopes that we would both have a star pupil who would become eternal rivals like the two of us. Kakashi blinked in response. Did you say something, Guy? The spandex-wearing jonin was about to complain about Kakashi's hip attitude, but he was interrupted by Anko. May whatever god is out there look down upon your students, Guy. They are going to need all the help they can get. She stated. So rude, Guy lamented. Heh, well maybe you'll get a rival from my team. Shursui commented with a chuckle. You were assigned a genin team? Hade asked with wide eyes before he started to cough. Yeah, why? The Uchiha gave Hade a strange look. The swordsman simply shrugged in response. You seem like the type Yahemwa would refuse to take a team. Oh, believe me, I did. I thought Itachi was messing with me when he assigned me to a team. Shursui admitted with a chuckle. But you know, I met the kids today and I honestly think they aren't half bad. I think they could become something one day. Seriously? Anko gave the Uchiha a strange look. He nodded in response, which caused her to shrug. You're brave then. I'd never consider passing a genin team. No way would I ever be a glorified babysitter. Anko-san, what an unyouthful thing to say. Being a sensei for a genin squad is one of the most rewarding honors any shinobi can receive, and I am indeed honored to have a team assigned to me. Guy exclaimed as he turned and gave Shursui a thumbs up and a smile. His teeth seemingly gleamed. I wish you the best of luck with your team, Shursui-san, and I hope that the two of us can lead our genin to a legacy of greatness. Heh. Wait a bit, and see if they pass my genin test. The Uchiha chuckled. But yeah, I wish you the same luck as well, Guy. The rest of the night passed by quickly. Shursui returned back to his apartment shortly after midnight and went to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a busy day, and he wanted to make sure he was wide awake. Am I even in the right part of the village? Naruto asked himself as he walked down a street. It was the day of the true genin test and Naruto was currently looking for the meeting place that Shursui had told them to go to. He had given each of them a small card that had the location mapped out where their exam would take place. Naruto had assumed that the exam would be taking place on the multiple training grounds in Konoha. Instead, his exam appeared to be happening in the middle of the streets in Konoha. The map was taking the blonde into the edge of the village and towards an area of the village that was undergoing construction. The blonde continued to wander the streets, trying to reach the destination marked on his card. Nearly 30 minutes after he started searching, he finally found it, a small park filled with many different flowers and trees. It was the only area in this part of the village that seemed to be completed and not under any form of construction. Standing in this park by the trees were Niji and Tenten, the two genin assigned to Naruto's team. A grin developed on Naruto's face as he rushed over to them. Hey! Guys! Naruto shouted. Tenten and Niji, who were both previously just waiting in silence, turned their heads in the direction of the blonde. Niji quickly turned his head back while Tenten smiled back to the boy and waved at him. How are you doing, Naruto? You ready for today? She asked him. You bet. I was born ready. Naruto exclaimed with a smile. If you were born ready, then you probably would have arrived earlier. You were almost late. Niji commented, still not looking at Naruto. Naruto responded by glaring at the Hyuga. Hey, shut up, Niji. I've never been to this part of the village, so I got lost. Sumi. The Uzumaki then started to look at the area around him in curiosity. Where are we anyway? This doesn't look like a good place to take any kind of test in. The official name for this whole area is Shibuya. It's going to become a new residential area of Konoha. Tenten commented, getting Naruto's attention. Construction started here a little less than a month ago. It's going to be kinda expensive from what I hear, so it's geared more towards the wealthy citizens and the jonin that take enough high-ranked missions to afford a place out here. But when it's finished, it's supposedly going to be really nice. Ah, I see. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. Still, the blonde did seem confused. But then why are we taking our test all the way out here? Tenten opened her mouth to respond, but a new voice spoke up before her. It's the perfect place, that's why. Naruto and Tenten jumped back in surprise at the voice. Niji himself turned his head in the direction of the voice. Standing at the very top of one of the trees in the park was Uchiha Shursui. He was holding a brown cardboard box filled with different weapons and traps inside of it. The man jumped down to the ground in front of the students carefully, making sure the contents inside his box did not fall out. Were you there the whole time, Shursui-sensei? Tenten asked in surprise. I can't believe Niji or I didn't notice you. Nah, don't stress out about that. I just got here as well. Shursui responded sheepishly. Even if he is a jonin, the fact that he got up to that tree without any of us noticing or hearing a thing is impressive. Niji made a mental note as he studied the Uchiha. Interesting. I wonder what he is capable of. Shursui-sensei, how is the area perfect for the exam? Naruto spoke up. Well, it's perfect for MY exam. Which I guess I'm going to have to explain to you guys now. Shursui shrugged in response before starting to speak. Basically, our exam is going to be a giant search mission throughout the construction grounds. Huh? Naruto blinked. I probably didn't explain that well at all. The Uchiha sighed to himself. Basically, I'm going to end up hiding somewhere in the construction grounds of the area and you all are going to have to find me. I'm going to be trying to avoid you and you all need to keep on my trail and make sure that I can't get away. If one of you is able to find me and touch me, even if it's just my shirt or something, then you all will pass. Wait, does only one of us need to touch you? Tenten questioned, slightly confused. Yup. But just saying, it doesn't mean that one person will be able to do all the work for you guys. Not to brag or any of that, but nothing less than all three of you working together will be able to even find me, let alone actually reach me. Shursui answered with a shrug. You're a jonin. Even if the three of us work together, you should still be able to avoid us no matter what we do. Niji commented with a slight glare. I realize that, and I am going to dumb down my own evasion skills. But in the end, I can do whatever I want. This is my test, and I make up the damn rules. If you have a problem with that, well, you can bitch and rant to the academy instructors when you return there after failing. Shursui responded nonchalantly. Naruto and Tenten gulped at the prospect of failure. Niji, on the other hand, glared at the jonin in response. Anyway, just saying, this exam actually is taking me a lot longer to prepare than I had thought. I thought I'd be done with all the stuff by now, but I'm not. The Uchiha commented sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Soya, I'm going to have to postpone the test for 1 more hour though. What do you mean by that? What preparations do you need to do? Naruto asked loudly out of irritation and impatience. You told us the exam would be at noon, and we are here at noon. Tenten nodded in agreement. Even Niji made a slight head gesture that showed he was interested in his sensei's response. See this box? Shursui asked, holding up the brown box. His 3 students nodded. It's full of traps that I'm setting throughout the construction ground. You're setting traps for us? Tenten asked in shock. No shit. The Uchiha rolled his eyes. Any battlefield or area during a mission could be filled with traps. And any skilled shinobi will be able to spot them and avoid them. Oh man, this might be tough. Naruto gulped. He could see different sticks of fireworks sticking out of the box, and he felt himself starting to sweat. Anywho, I need to finish setting everything up. Shouldn't take more than an hour though. Shursui noted. I'll be back as soon as I finish setting things up. You all can use the time to strategize or something. Do whatever you want, just please don't go out wandering while I'm gone or something. I want to get this started as soon as I can. I already made plans and I don't like that this exam is going to take longer than I planned for. The Uchiha proceeded to give his students a glare. So, don't leave the area until I get back. If I come back and you all aren't here, I will fail all 3 of you on the spot. On that note, Shursui disappeared immediately without a trace. His 3 students were staring wide-eyed at the spot on the ground where he previously was. Well, this exam is going to be serious business. Tenten remarked dryly with a nervous chuckle. I'll say. Naruto responded with a similar uneasy laugh. Shursui-sensei did give us an hour to prepare for the exam. That will be very useful for us. Niji commented. That's actually true. We at least have a lot time to prepare for this thing. Tenten agreed, thinking on a more positive light than what she had previously. Yeah? We can totally come up with a kick-ass plan that'll work. Naruto declared excitably, all traces of nervousness gone. So, do any of you guys have an idea for a plan? Naruto, I'd advise not participating in this exam, as you'll just hold us back. Tenten and I will find Shursui and capture him. Niji informed him sharply. Niji! Tenten glared at the Hyuga prodigy. What is that supposed to mean? Naruto glared at the Hyuga. I know you think you're hot shit and all, but you do realize that Shursui-sensei outright said that it's gonna take the three of us to find him. That may be true for a normal team of genin, but I have reason to believe that you will simply hold us back. I looked up more information on you and I learned that you tried to graduate the year before and failed. What once seemed impressive, graduating a year ahead of your class, now doesn't seem impressive at all when you realize that you actually tried to graduate 2 years ago and failed the test. Niji explained his train of thought before he looked at Naruto in a condescending manner. Once a failure, always a failure. Just stay out of our way during this exam and you'll pass. Hey asshole! You don't know shit! Naruto rolled his eyes. So what if I failed once before? I didn't really take myself or my studies seriously then. I'm better now, that's what you say, and you may have put more of an effort this year, but you can never fully change yourself. Everyone will remain the same way that fate had intended them to be. In your case, you were a failure and will always remain a failure. Niji answered with the same condescending look. The Hyuga looked as if he was going to continue, but he was interrupted by Tenten. Niji, shut up, the kunoichi sighed in frustration as she massaged her temples. Look, Naruto may have failed the test a while ago, but he obviously passed this year. He's more than capable and can help us. Don't go judging him until you see what he can do. Tenten Naruto was staring at the kunoichi with wide eyes. It was rather uncommon for someone to openly defend him in such a manner, let alone someone who he had just met. Humph, Niji scoffed. Believe what you want. I'm just saying what I see from the facts. Tenten opened her mouth to speak again, but this time, Naruto spoke up. Hey Niji, you say you know me from my pranks and stuff, right? He asked. Niji nodded, which caused him to continue. So you know how long it takes for me to get caught, right? I cannot say. I don't believe I came across that information. Niji replied with a shrug. What about it? Then you don't know that it takes the shinobi after me around 2 to 3 hours to catch me. The Uzumaki declared with a smug grin. His statement caused Niji's eyes to widen. Yeah, they say you're a prodigy, and you probably aren't bad at stuff. But I'm not the horrible failure you think I am, and I'll prove it today. Niji developed a grin on his face. His grin had elements of smugness and curiosity. Then we'll see today if you prove me wrong or not. Heh. We'll see Databeo. Naruto replied, his grin matching Niji's. The two boys got into a stare-off, either one dropping their gaze at the other. Neither Naruto nor Niji were blinking. Nearly a minute passed before Tenten coughed in annoyance, getting their attention. Yeah, you guys do remember about our exam, right? The one we should probably prepare for? She asked them sarcastically. Heh. Of course. Naruto nodded with a nervous chuckle before his eyes filled with determination. So, let's plan this. Who is good at what? The 3 academy graduates were able to quickly make up a plan for their upcoming exam. Niji, who possessed the Byakugan, would be able to search through the unfinished buildings and would be able to spot Shursui. He would be the one who would keep track of Shursui's movements during the exam. Tenten was someone who apparently had a skill for weapons and a variety of different uses you could use them for. Therefore, her role was to use the weapons that she had brought with her and create as many different traps as she could. She would place them in different locations throughout the areas by any of Shursui's discovered traps to trip him up. She, along with her teammates, had suspected that the Uchiha would discover them and wouldn't actually fall for them. They would, however, cause him to have to slow down to avoid them, meaning that they would indeed impede his movements. Naruto was the one who was delegated the responsibility of reaching Shursui and touching him. He, having experience of running from his time escaping the shinobi chasing him, stood the best chance of actually being able to catch Shursui. Naruto would move ahead of his teammates. Niji would inform of any changes in Shursui's movements, which would cause Naruto and his teammates to follow him. Whenever they found any of Shursui's traps, Tenten would recreate her own in hopes that, if they chased Shursui back to them, they would be able to slow him down slightly. Their plan was slightly crude, but it was the best chance that they felt they had. Having designed their plan, the 3 academy graduates remained at the park, waiting impatiently for their sensei to finish his preparations. How long does it take someone to set up a few traps? Shursui-sensei is really taking his sweet time. Naruto groaned. Honestly, the guy's probably messing with us. Just making us wait because he's a perverted jerk. Tenten grumbled. Niji said nothing. The boy had decided to use his time to meditate. He had no complaints or issues with the Uchiha taking more time. Around 50 minutes had passed since Shursui had left, and Naruto and Tenten were at a newfound level of irritation and impatience. It was at this moment that a loud explosion was heard further down in the construction area. Naruto and Tenten turned their heads in the direction of the explosion in surprise. Neji broke his meditation and looked in the same direction. What was that? Naruto questioned in panic. Tenten opened her mouth to answer, but another explosion sounded off in the same direction. This time, the noise was even louder. Okay, that isn't normal. Something's going on over there. Naruto exclaimed frantically. Neji noticed that the blonde looked as if he was going to run in that direction. Remembering the words of their sensei about leaving the area, he proceeded to speak up. Relax, Naruto. The explosions could be a result of construction, he stated calmly. Or maybe Shursui-sensei is over in that direction, setting up traps. Maybe one of his traps went off and caused the explosion. There's no reason to leave and check it out. Everything is fine. Naruto looked over at Neji and nodded at the answer. He seemed to accept it and started to calm down. Just as he was finally to be at ease again, another explosion went off in the same direction. They could now see that one of the buildings in the distance was on fire. The Uzumaki's eyes widened. He proceeded to turn his head to Neji and point at the fire. There's no way that's for construction. And I sure as hell think Shursui-sensei wouldn't make his traps like that to kill us. Something is going on that way, something bad, Naruto declared loudly. Neji's eyes narrowed on the fire. He was now seeing the explosions in a different light, and was now considering the source of them to be a potential threat. What are we going to do about it though? Tenten asked in the same frantic tone of voice as Naruto. I'm going over there, Naruto stated. Tenten's eyes widened. By yourself? What about what Shursui-sensei said? Naruto's eyes were focused on the fire as he spoke with a voice filled with a mixture of nervousness and determination. He'll have to understand. Something is going on over there, and someone could be over there in trouble. The kunoichi agreed with her blonde teammate. Something was indeed happening in the distance, and it did not seem innocent at all. The blonde was also right. Someone, such as a construction worker or a resident of the village on a walk, could be over there in trouble. You're right. Then I'll go with you, Tenten declared. Neji stared in the direction of the fire intently. He then brought his fingers together. Byakugan. The Hyuga, using the Byakugan, was able to see over into the area that was on fire. He could make out a figure wearing a black cloak making hand signs. Someone is over there causing the explosions, Neji stated, his eyes fixated on the figure. If you two are going over there, then you'll have to find them. I'll help. Naruto gave his two teammates a nod before he started to run in the direction of the fire. Tenten and Neji followed behind as fast as they could. It took the academy graduates around 1 minute of sprinting to reach the area with the burning building. Standing in front of it was, as Neji said, a figure wearing a cloak. The physical appearance of the person could not be determined at all. What was noticeable, though, was that the person was making hand signs and causing explosions in the area. As Naruto, Tenten, and Neji arrived, Tenten tried to throw a kunai at the figure's head. The person, however, managed to react in time and avoid the weapon. The person then stared in the direction of the newly arrived academy graduates. What are you doing over here? Naruto demanded. None of your business, kid. The figure responded in a feminine voice, identifying the person as female. You brats move along now. Don't want any of you getting hurt. Bullshit that it isn't our business. We're Konoha shinobi and you're attacking our village, Naruto declared as he pulled a shuriken. The woman, seeing the shuriken, quickly jumped backwards and started to make hand sings. Fire style, fireball jutsu. She released a giant fireball from her mouth aimed at the academy graduates. Naruto, Tenten, and Neji jumped out in time to avoid the fireball. Naruto responded by tossing a shuriken at the woman. Tenten pulled out a set of kunai of her own and started chucking them at the woman. She proceeded to dodge all the thrown weapons as she started to run up to them, making hand signs of her own. Neji, seeing her come forward, starting to run towards her ahead of his teammates. He reached the woman before she finished her hand signs and tried to land a palm strike on her. She dodged his attack by moving to the side. She then grabbed his shoulder tightly with her land hand, raised her right hand to punch him. Just as she was about to, Naruto quickly rushed over and stopped her. The boy landed a fist at her, knocking her back away from Neji. Hey, you are fast, I guess. Neji noted. You bet I am, Naruto declared with a smirk. Now come on, let's take this woman down. I can see that her chakra levels are around Jonin level. This is going to be very difficult, if even possible at all. We are all going to have to be very careful, Neji advised. Hold on a sec, Tenten told them as she took a scroll out of her pocket. She tossed it into the air and made a hand sign. The scroll released a series of kunai that had explosive tags attached to them into the sky. The tags were activated and blew up in the sky, creating a loud, very visible explosion in the air. Hopefully that'll clue someone else in on what's going on over here. Heh. Smart thinking, Naruto complimented. Backup is going to be needed, Neji noted. His eyes then stiffened as he turned to face the woman again, noticing her preparing for a jutsu. Naruto, Tenten, be careful. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. The woman released multiple, smaller fireballs from her mouth aimed at the academy graduates. Naruto, Tenten, and Niji were able to jump out in time of most of the fireballs, but Tenten wasn't able to avoid them all. She received a hit to her left leg, which caused her to wince in pain as she felt her leg burning. She then took this moment to rush up to them. She delivered a punch to Tenten's face, knocking her backwards into another building. She fell to the ground hard after making contact with the building. Tenten! Naruto shouted, taking his eyes away from the woman and towards his teammate. The woman, seeing an opening, rushed in on Naruto. The blonde wasn't able to react in time as her fist connected with his face. The boy was sent backwards into the same building as Tenten. Some shinobi you all are. The woman laughed almost maniacally before turning to Niji. I'm only going to say this one more time. You brats need to leave me alone. I'm doing my thing and nothing any of you do are going to stop that. Niji cursed mentally, but he made an effort to stay calm outwardly. Panicking was not going to help him, Tenten, and Naruto survive. Perhaps a bluff, he wondered before he let a false grin appear on his face. It does not matter if we stop you or not, we've stalled you enough. That explosion we released into the air was a distress signal. Backup will be coming. Niji told her, you will not accomplish whatever you are trying to do here. And frankly, you fighting us is just you wasting your time. You're going to lose here in the end. That is your inevitable fate. I don't care if your village catches me or not. I'm just here to wreck things. The woman laughed. The woman started to create more hand signs. Niji cursed again in his head. Didn't work. Well, whatever. I just need to keep her stalled a little longer. Niji threw multiple shuriken at the woman. She moved out of the way before releasing another fireball from her mouth at the Hyuga. He jumped out of the way just in time and landed on the ground in front of her. He then, quickly attacked her. Niji landed a palm strike on her elbow, which he followed up with a strike to her right arm. The woman winced in pain slightly before she jumped back to place distance between her and the boy. Filthy brat. She cursed. The woman never finished her sentence. Naruto and Tenten had gotten up from their positions on the ground. She was now flanked by both academy graduates, both of whom were holding kunai in their hands. They managed to stab the woman in her side, causing her to shout, H! She hissed in pain. Should have been paying more attention to us. Naruto taunted. Naruto and Tenten dug their kunai into the woman's side further. The woman hissed loudly in pain again before she disappeared in a poof of smoke. Naruto, Tenten, and Niji had wide eyes as they started to look around. What the hell just happened? Naruto asked. That was a shadow clone, damn. How did I not see that? Niji cursed to himself. Where is she? Tenten spoke up, scanning the area around them. At that moment, a quiet clapping sound could be heard throughout the area. That'd be right here. The 3 academy graduates turned in the direction of the noise and gasped at the sight. The cloaked woman was standing on a rooftop next to Shursui. The young man was smiling proudly at them. Hey guys. Great job out there. He told them. What? The Tenten's eyes were wide. What's going on? Naruto questioned dumbly. Shursui and the cloaked woman jumped down to the ground in front of the academy graduates. The Uchiha was the one to speak first. Well, let me be the first to congratulate you all on passing my test. You are all now official Genin of Konoha. He told them, his proud smile still evident on his face. Huh? Naruto blinked in confusion. Tenten seemed equally lost and confused as he was. I see. Niji, unlike his teammates, pieced the information quickly in his head. This whole event was the true test, wasn't it? The Uchiha nodded in response. Correct. I told you that bullshit test of searching for me because I wanted you all to have a test in mind so you would think that this attack was a legitimate attack, not part of any possible test. What my test truly was to see how loyal you are to Konoha. Shursui pointed to the building that the academy graduates had seen on fire. The fire was doused, and it looked as if it had never occurred in the first place. I wanted to make sure you all thought that this was an attack on Konoha by a foreign shinobi, so I made sure I released loud fireworks and explosions that you all would have to hear, and I even put a genjutsu out to make it look the building over here was on fire. I wanted to make the situation look bad so that you would all think that something could be happening. And I wanted to see what you would all do. Oh. I see it now. Tenten's eyes were wide and understanding. So, the fact that we left the park to investigate the explosion showed our loyalty to Konoha? You got it. That's why I also told you all that if you left the park, you would all fail the exam. I wanted to test your loyalty to our village compared to what you want, Shursui explained as a serious expression appeared on his face. Being a shinobi is a serious commitment. It's a sacrifice. So what if I came back and failed you all? If you went out here, saw someone destroying buildings and potentially harming someone, and were able to stop them, then I feel you accomplished something more important than passing some stupid exam. And then what was the point of having us fight her? Naruto asked as he pointed to the cloaked woman. Oh, that was just to get a general view of how good you were, and see exactly what I was going to need to train you all in when we start training. I wanted to observe it all, and my good friend here offered to help me. Shursui answered with a laugh. The woman took off her cloak and revealed herself to be a woman with purple hair styled in a ponytail. She had on a tan trench coat, a fishnet shirt underneath it, and an orange skirt. Thanks again for the help, Anko. Shursui told the woman. It helped a lot getting the chance to watch them fight seriously. Heh, no problem at all. It was fun just screwing with your brats for a bit. Anko laughed in response. Brats? Naruto frowned at her word choice. It seems like every single jonin I've seen and heard about recently is eccentric. Niji made a mental note in his head as he thought back to Shusui's porn-reading friend, and now the woman in front of him. A few seconds passed before Shusui turned his attention back his students. He closed his eyes for another second before he looked at the newly made Genin. I knew that if I were ever given a team of Genin, I'd want a team that I feel would have my back in a mission. I want a group that would put the village first before their wants and needs. And I feel like you all will be the Genin team that I wanted. So, congratulations again guys. You've earned your promotion to Genin. Heh. Niji smirked in response. Yes. Thank God. Tenten shouted excitably. After a brief moment of panic yesterday at hearing that there was a chance she could still not graduate, she was now officially a Genin. It's starting. Naruto shouted equally as loud. My career as a shinobi is officially starting. Look out world, Uzumaki Naruto is here Databayo. Shusui laughed as he watched his students react in their own unique, different ways. Hey, you know, I may end up having a lot of fun with this job. Anyway, the exam is all we were supposed to do today. Tomorrow we will actually begin working on the real stuff associated with being a shinobi. Meet me at Training Ground 29 tomorrow at 8 in the morning, and we will begin your training. Shusui informed his students. Of course. Naruto stated. After agreeing to the time, he then turned his attention to Niji with a smug grin on his face. So, Niji, how'd I do? Niji shrugged in the response. You were better than I had anticipated. Still a troublemaking failure, but you can pull your own weight I see. Why you Naruto nearly growled, but he held his tongue. Niji had, indeed, admitted that he was better than he anticipated, so he was slowly proving himself to the Hyuga. Naruto's grin returned to his face shortly after. Give it a few more days, Niji. I'll show you that I'm no failure, we will see. Niji said dismissively as he started to walk away. I am going to return home now, if that is all for the day. The Hyuga walked away, leaving his teammates behind. Jackass. Tenten rolled her eyes. God, he's so smug. I want to punch him in the face one of these days. Hey, he's not as bad as you describe him. Jackass, yeah, but I think I'm proving myself to him slowly. I will get him to recognize me, Naruto declared confidently as he placed his hand on his chest. Believe it, Naruto, the way you said that was extremely cheesy. Please don't do that again. The brown-haired Kunoichi deadpanned. The blonde frowned in response. He opened his mouth to say something, but then his stomach growled. This caused Tenten to start giggling while Naruto merely blushed red in embarrassment. Heh, I didn't eat lunch today yet. Sorry. The blonde replied with an uneasy laugh. No worries, Naruto. Tenten continued to giggle. An idea then entered her head. Hey, if you're hungry and all, want to go get something to eat? To celebrate us passing? Really? You want to go eat somewhere? Naruto's eyes widened again. Yeah? I'm hungry too, you know. The Kunoichi said with a laugh. Hey, I understand. Yeah, sure. Naruto declared happily. The two Genin waved goodbye to Shusui as they ran off to go get something to eat and celebrate. Shusui and Anko watched the two leave and laughed. Well, they already seemed close already. Good thing too. It's no fun when a team all hates each other. Shusui commented with a laugh. Who knows, maybe they'll be able to help me pull out the stick from Niji's ass. Good luck with that. That Hyuga seems to reek overconfidence and smugness. It's going to take a lot of effort to end that fate bullshit. Anko noted nonchalantly. Yeah, but I think we both know that I can be really stubborn when I want to be, and right now, I just want to completely destroy that fate crap. The Uchiha declared. I know you well enough. Now I almost pity the Hyuga for all the abuse you are probably going to put him through. The purple-haired woman laughed. A silence passed between the two friends. It was interrupted by Shusui, who needed to ask a question to Anko. So how do you think? You notice anything about their fighting? He questioned. Well, theory not horrible. Especially for Genin. Honestly, they did good in that regard. But they're going to need some work. Anko admitted. It's going to take a bit of training before I can say they are ready for some of the real kind of stuff we do. Yeah, I understand. That's what I was thinking when I observed your fight with them. Shusui nodded in his agreement. If you can count them fighting a dumbed-down shadow clone version of me as a fight, Anko rolled her eyes. They're not ready for the real you yet, Anko. Not many people are. The Uchiha noted with a grin. True. I just reek awesomeness, you know? She responded with a similar grin. After more conversation, the two friends parted ways. Shusui spent the entire walk back to his apartment thinking about what had happened and about his Genin team. He was now thinking of the different ways and methods he was going to have to train them. Team 5, under Uchiha Shusui, had officially been formed. Here is the list of all the teams that had passed the true Genin exam. Hokage-sama. Itachi took the list from the attendant and bowed in thanks. He then started to study the content of the list. His early predictions proved correct. The teams Itachi had assumed would fail did fail. In contrast, the teams that Itachi did feel would pass did indeed pass. Shursui is going to take on the team. Itachi noted as his eyes focused on Shursui's name. Next to it were the words Team 5 and past. He will helpfully enjoy this. Teaching a Genin team would be a good thing for him. It'll certainly be more rewarding to him than some of his more recent missions at least. Itachi stretched his arms and he walked towards the window of his office. The young Godame Hokage looked out the window and into the heart of Konoha. The village itself was in peace. Things had been peaceful in the village since the Uchiha clan's coup was aborted before it was able to begin. Konoha had managed to stay out conflict in the past few years and there was a reported drop in casualties during missions. Ever since Itachi was appointed to become Hokage, things had indeed appeared to become more peaceful for the village. It was a shame that this peace was simply not going to last for long. What? Itachi questioned himself. The Godame Hokage received a mission report 30 minutes ago that was starting to deeply disturb him. The mission was a simple B-rank escort mission to Kaze no Kuni assigned to a trio of Chunin with only a minor risk of other village shinobi interference. The mission should have been simple, but the report the Hokage received suggested otherwise. Itachi continued to read the report over and over again, trying to process what exactly happened. Hey Itachi! The Hokage looked up to see Shursui entering the room. The Jonin smiled and waved to his best friend as he took a seat directly in front of him. Seems stressed to me. The job finally getting annoying? I was wondering when even you would get sick of paperwork. Shursui chuckled. When Itachi did not smile or react to his joke, Shursui's smile disappeared. A serious expression crossed his lips. What's up? After completing a mission in Kaze no Kuni, a team was ambushed at the border of the country by a single shinobi. They were overpowered. Itachi answered. Were they all killed? Shursui asked solemnly as his eyes lowered downward. No. The shinobi knocked 2 of the Chunin unconscious. Only 1 was killed. Itachi sighed and brought his right hand to his face. A girl from our clan, Uchiha Sajiri. Shursui's eyes widened as memories of 5 years ago entered his head. He remembered an 11-year-old girl from his clan with bright red eyes and short black hair coming to him for help with her chakra control, and he remembered spending hours each day for about 2 months with her improving it. He remembered all the conversations they had and the times where they went to dinner after training. The strongest memory in his head was seeing her wearing her konoha forehead protector, smiling, after she graduated from the academy. As memories entered his head, Shursui's eyes started to water up and he felt his hands tighten into fists. Did you know her? The Hokage asked quietly. Yeah. She came to me asking for help when she was still in the academy, and we started talking a lot. Really polite and funny. It had been a while since I talked to her last, because she got busy after she reached Chunin. Shursui shook his head, stopping his tears from coming down further. I didn't know her well, but she came into the office with her team often for missions. She was a really sweet girl. The Hokage noted with a sigh. She probably would have been one of the best shinobi the Uchiha clan produced in years. She didn't deserve death this young. Shursui's eyes narrowed and he slammed his fist onto the Hokage's desk. God damn it. I'll hunt down the bastard that killed her. He did something else that was odd. Itachi spoke quietly. Shursui calmed down slightly and turned his attention back to the Hokage. He didn't take her body or anything. He left for her teammates to bring back to the village. However, he cut into her eyes and destroyed them. He didn't steal the Sharingan from her. He just destroyed the eyes. Shursui's eyes narrowed in disgust once again. This time, he didn't outwardly react as he tried to process what Shursui meant. It wasn't odd to hear someone attack an Uchiha due to their Sharingan. It was the risk that any shinobi with a Kekkai Genkai faced when they went on missions. However, they were usually only attacked by shinobi that had the intent of somehow stealing the Kekkai Genkai. Instead, the assailant attacked and destroyed the Sharingan. Are you sure he didn't just replace her eyes or something? Shursui asked quietly. The report here came with an autopsy report that was already done. Her eyes were definitely not stolen, they were destroyed. The Hokage clarified. Do you think the eyes were destroyed by accident? Maybe he intended to take them, but fucked up and realized that he couldn't. Shursui continued to question. Itachi shook his head. If that were the case, I think there would be more damage to the rest of her face. No, I think he specifically intended on destroying the Sharingan. Silence filled the room between the two best friends. A few seconds passed before Shursui spoke up with a sigh. So, what does this mean? He asked. Her teammates were spared for a reason. I think this was meant as a threat of some sort. Itachi sighed in response as he finally put the mission report down. Threat of what? Shursui questioned, but then immediately shook his head. A scowl crossed his face before he started to speak again. Never mind, I don't give a fuck. I don't care what this insane bastard wants to tell us. I'll kill him myself one of these days, and once we get more information on whoever it is, I will personally assign you this mission. Itachi informed him. There were still a few more concerns he had about the mission, but now was not the time. After all, Shursui wasn't here for a social visit and to listen to his thoughts about another mission. We have something to talk about. Oh yeah? You called me out here. Shursui remembered. He calmed himself down before he continued to talk to his best friend. What did you want to talk about? You are training with your Genin team tomorrow, correct? The Hokage asked. Shui nodded in response. Then, could you bring Naruto over here after training? Sure. That shouldn't be that hard. Shui shrugged in response. What for? The Sandaime and the advisors disagreed with me about this. But I feel he has a right to know the truth, especially since he is now a Genin. Itachi informed him seriously. Tomorrow, Naruto and I will be discussing the truth about the Kyuubi. Morning came quickly for the residents of Konoha. Around 6:30 a.m., Uzumaki Naruto got himself dressed and ready for the day and left his apartment. He then started to wander the streets with a piece of paper in his hands. He kept looking back and forth between it and the streets of Konoha. It took him a few minutes before he arrived at his destination, a small little green stand called Tamago near the shops of Konoha. There were a few people there, eating breakfast. One of the people there was a girl that the Uzumaki recognized, which caused him to grin. Naruto realized that he was in the right place and walked up to the stand and took a seat next to the girl, his teammate Tenten. Hey Tenten. He spoke to her with a smile as he took his seat. Ah, Naruto. Good to see you could come. The kunoichi replied with a smile of her own. Sorry again about the last-minute rain check yesterday. Naruto and Tenten agreed to go get something to eat after their true Genin exam yesterday. Just as they arrived, though, Tenten realized she had to leave. She decided to make it up to Naruto, however, and agreed to meet up with him for breakfast before their training. Just don't make it a habit, and it's all good. Naruto chuckled. What did you have to do though? I just forgot about a promise I made to my boss to work after the exam. Tenten admitted sheepishly as she brought her right hand to one of the buns on her head. I work at one of the weapon shops here and they're always busy, so I knew he would need my help and would probably be kinda pissed at me for skipping. That's actually pretty cool. The Uzumaki smirked at his teammate. How much does the job pay? Well, honestly, not that much. The kunoichi sighed in response. But hey, it gets me by. Besides, my boss is actually renting out a room in his house for me, so that kinda factors into my paycheck. Wait, you live with your boss? Naruto repeated the idea in surprise. Something about that seemed odd to me. He couldn't imagine living with Iruka, so he didn't really know how someone else would be able to live with someone with a relationship like that. Well, yeah? She shrugged in response. He offered it to me, and well, I can't afford a place by myself yet. And it definitely beats actually living in the orphanage here. Oh yeah, you're an orphan too. Naruto remembered what she had said during her introduction to Shui. Wait, too? You're an orphan as well? Tenten's eyes widened as she looked at Naruto intently. I have an apartment for myself now, because the old man Sandaime Hokage liked me enough to give me an allowance. But I lived there until I was 7. Naruto sighed in response as a frown crept onto his face. Still no idea why. I don't even know what happened to my parents or family. Tenten's eyes dropped slightly and a frown crept onto her lips. I'm sorry about that, Naruto. I couldn't imagine what that feels like. I'd hate not knowing what happened to my family. It's okay. I'm in a better place now, so I don't really think about that. Naruto told her lightly. The Uzumaki then picked up on the wording of her response. Do you know what happened to your parents? The matron of the orphanage knew who my parents were, so I got to find out. Apparently, they died in the Kyuubi attack. Tenten answered quietly. Oh. It was now Naruto's time to look away sadly. Don't apologize for that. You didn't do anything. Tenten shook her head and laughed lightly. You're right though, I'm in a better place now though, so I just don't think about it much. Don't feel bad for me, heh. Naruto let a sincere smile grace his lips. He was really starting to learn more about he realized that she understood him in a way that most people would never be able to. It made him realize that the two were going to be great friends. Anyway, enough of this depressing stuff, let's get some food and just start talking about something more fun. Tenten told him with a grin on her face. A loud grumble came from Naruto's stomach. The Uzumaki's face lit red in embarrassment for a few seconds before he gave her a sheepish smile and a nod. Sounds good to me, Dadabayo. An hour and 20 minutes later, Naruto and Tenten were sprinting away from the Tamago breakfast stand and were heading in the direction of Training Ground 29. The two shinobi had distressed looks on their face. The training ground was, after all, about a 20-minute walk from where they were and their training would begin in 10 minutes. I can't believe we spent that long there. That was only supposed to be an hour max. Tenten groaned as she and Naruto continued to run as fast as they could. Why do you have to order those weird brown circular things? It took them so long to make those. Naruto asked the kunoichi frantically. Between the two of them, he was the one most stressed about the idea of being late to his first day of training. They're called pancakes, and I don't know. I never had Western-styled food and it sounded like a good idea at the time. Tenten replied back. And the taste was worth it, but we're gonna be late now. Naruto whined. You could have left me. Besides, the taste was worth it. Tenten exclaimed. What does it even mean to be Western-styled for food? I don't know, but it must mean amazing, because it tasted great. Naruto and Tenten continued to banter between each other about why they were running late, and what exactly Western-styled food was while they ran to the training ground. The two only stopped their banter when they arrived at the designated training ground. Both Niji and Shursui were already there and discussing something when the other two genin arrived. They were breathing heavily and sweating. "We're sorry we're late. It won't happen again, promise." Both Tenten and Naruto apologized in unison loudly. Niji gave no response to their apology. Shursui blinked for a few seconds before he tilted his head slightly in confusion. "But you guys are on time exactly. It just turned 8 o'clock. It just did." Naruto's eyes widened in shock. Both he and Tenten turned to face each other. Both of them were still breathing heavily, but they now had wide grins on their faces. "We just pulled off a 20-minute trip in 10 minutes. Tenten commented between breaths. "We're awesome like that," Naruto replied. With those words, the two genin fell to the ground in exhaustion. "Idiots." Niji shook his head in frustration. They were that unaware of how fast they were moving then? And unaware about time? Shursui questioned himself before he shook his head. "Man, I hope I wasn't that stupid back when I was a genin." His eyes then widened and he proceeded to shake his head again. "Wait, I was probably worse than them. I was an absolute dumb shit." Bad comparison. "I'm sure most of the people I work with weren't like that when they were genin." Shursui was speaking quietly to himself, but Niji managed to hear his sensei's words. The Hyuga simply brought his hands to his head and continued to shake it. "All of them are idiots." A few minutes passed by as Shursui let Naruto and Tenten relax a little bit after their run. Once he deemed that they were no longer exhausted, he decided to begin training. All three members of Team 5 looked at their sensei expectantly, waiting for him to start. "Alright, just as a thing of note, I'm a big fan of teamwork and making sure you all work and train together. But since this is the first day and I think I have a few things I want to talk about, I kinda want to spend the first hour of our training on an individual level." Shursui quickly made a hand sign and a poof of smoke filled the area. When it cleared, two clones stood next to the original Shursui. "Again, this won't take long, just about an hour. I just want to polish up on a few individual issues that we can resolve before group work. Anyway, Naruto, you'll be with the real me. Niji and Tenten, go with my clones." Niji and Tenten nodded in response. They then followed one of Shursui's clones respectively, and went their separate ways. Naruto was now left alone with the original Shursui. The blonde was looking at him curiously. "So, what do you want to work with me, Shursui-sensei?" Naruto asked. "I want to get you some true, grade A offensive power." Shursui replied with a smirk on his face. "Hell yeah!" The Uzumaki jumped up in excitement at the prospect of getting even tougher. "Because believe me, you sure as hell need it." The Uchiha mumbled under his breath. Naruto, unfortunately, heard the Uchiha's comment and stopped cheering. He then looked at his sensei in shock, feeling a mixture of surprise and insulted. "What do you mean by that?" the blonde questioned. "I need to be quieter when I talk to myself. Either that or just stop the damn habit." Shursui sighed to himself before he spoke up to explain. "You got better from your last year, according to all the notes I received from your academy instructors, but you just don't have a lot going for you other than the transformation and substitution jutsus. You may have speed and some general strength, but you don't have much knowledge of ninjutsu, your taijutsu stances are atrocious, and your genjutsu is non-existent." Naruto looked downward after Shursui finished his comments. The Uzumaki had never really thought about it like that, but now that he was, even he had to admit he was lacking in strength. He really needed something to make himself better. Don't beat yourself up about that," his sensei said with a frown on his face. Naruto looked upward to face him. Once he realized he had Naruto's attention, the Uchiha let a smile return to his face again. "You're a genin, meaning you're kinda supposed to not be that tough right now. It's during this time though when you truly begin your training and start to get stronger. So don't think of yourself as weak or something like that. Just think of yourself as somebody who is going to improve starting now." As Shursui continued with his speech, the Uchiha became more passionate and animated with each word. By the time he finished, Naruto couldn't help but grin and chuckle at his sensei's antics. He was starting to really like Shursui, and Naruto realized that he was right. "So, what do you think I should do to get tougher?" he asked. His grin remained on his face, showing that the Uzumaki was excited to figure out what he could do to improve himself. "Well, to get some offensive shit ready, I think you need to add some jutsu to your repertoire that could actually do some damage," Shursui commented sagely as he started to dig into the pockets of his jacket. "However, when I was given some reports about you, I heard that you got some insane levels of chakra. Like Kage level amounts." The Uchiha continued to dig in his pockets, unaware that Naruto was now gaping at him due to his claim. A few seconds passed before Shursui finally pulled out what he was looking for. 2 black scrolls with the word clone printed on both of them. "So, if you have that much chakra, I think we should take advantage of that." The Uchiha tossed both scrolls over to Naruto. The Uzumaki caught them and began to look at them. He opened one up and looked at the title of the technique, Shadow Clone Jutsu. "That right there is what we are going to start practicing today. Once you have that down, I'll teach you the other jutsu," Shursui informed him. "For the record though, the other jutsu is the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Are you sure you got my file right? Because apparently I can't do clones," Naruto mumbled in response as he continued to look at the scroll on the Shadow Clone Jutsu in confusion. "Nah, I got your file. The reason you can't do regular clones is because of your chakra. You have way too much, so you can't concentrate the little amount to do the basic clone jutsu. Shursui explained. The two jutsus you have are not basic illusions, those are the real deal type of clones, and require a lot much more chakra. And considering the amount you have, that should be easy for you to use. Really? Naruto's eyes went wide as he looked towards his sensei for confirmation. Once Shursui nodded in response, the Uzumaki proceeded to jump up and down in excitement. Hell yeah! Then let's get started and learn this stuff. Whoa, take it easy, kid. Just because you have the amount of chakra to pull off these jutsus, it's still going to take time to learn both. Way more than the hour we're going to actually work on them right now. The Uchiha informed his student. He proceeded to stop jumping and pout in response, which caused Shursui to chuckle. But we'll see how much practice we can get done right now, and we'll continue from where we left off tomorrow. So, let's get started, shall we? Naruto smirked in response. He put away the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu away as he started to analyze the Shadow Clone Jutsu scroll's content in more detail before he verbally responded, Databeo. Whoa. Tenten gasped at the sight of the area where Shursui's Shadow Clone took her. The clone had escorted her to a smaller area of Training Ground 29 that was covered with training posts. The posts, in particular, were shaped in the form of human bodies. Each of them had the different vital points marked for reference. The academy didn't even have this many posts. The kunoichi commented with a grin as she instinctively reached for a kunai in a pouch on her right leg. Realizing that the clone wasn't going to stop her, she took out the knife and tossed it at the training post. Her knife hit the target at the location that was marked as the heart. Nice aim. Just as good as the reports from your academy instructors told me. Shursui's clone chuckled. Thanks. Tenten gave the clone a smirk in response. It's kinda my specialty. That's also what I heard. You're a budding weapons expert. The clone noted with a smirk as it pulled out a scroll from one of the pockets on its jacket. So, have you had any experience with the sword yet? Loosely. I've experimented with one before, but nothing really specific. I can't afford a legit sword yet, so I really can't practice much with one. The kunoichi sighed in response. But I'll get one someday and I'll definitely practice like crazy with it. The clone smirked in response as it activated the seal on the scroll on its hand. A poof of smoke was generated and once it cleared up, a steel katana with a hilt that was painted red. The clone gripped the sword loosely in its hands before it held the blade out to Tenten. Well, what if I said that day was today? Would you take up the offer? The clone asked the kunoichi. Seriously? Tenten looked at him in disbelief. She couldn't believe that someone, even if he was her sensei, would simply give away a sword for free just because she expressed an interest in it. Seriously. This isn't the best type of blade, I'll admit, but it's a pretty good katana to start learning the basics on it. Shursui's clone responded with a shrug. But yeah, I'd like to think I'm pretty good with kenjutsu, so I felt it would be a waste if I didn't teach what I knew to at least one student. So yeah, would you want to start practicing kenjutsu? Tenten was still a little hesitant to take the blade. It still seemed odd that somebody would be willing to just give a sword for no reason. She didn't know many people who could be considered that giving. Once Shursui's clone realized that she was still unsure, it walked forward towards the girl and brought the sword closer to her hands. With the blade being closer to her, Tenten couldn't resist her inner desire and took the sword away from him. She gripped it tightly and her eyes widened. This feels right. She commented with a smile as she started to practice swinging with it. Again, I think it's a good blade to start practicing with, so I hope it would. The clone chuckled in response. So, how do you feel now? Tenten nodded immediately in response as a wide, extremely happy grin covered her face. She then gently placed the blade on the ground before she rushed over to Shursui's clone and hugged it tightly. Thank you. Whoa, Tenten, loosen the grip. The clone gasped, interrupting the kunoichi's repeated thank you. I'm a clone, remember? You'll destroy me if you keep this hug up. Tenten quickly stopped her hug and backed away. Her cheeks were tainted red from embarrassment, and her eyes started to become focused on the ground. Damn, you got more strength than I thought. The clone commented with a deep breath after he was released. Well, I've been trying to get tougher. Tenten replied sheepishly in response. I can tell. That's good though. It'll make your swordsmanship better, I think. The clone commented with a smile. Anyway, let's get down to business. I'll work with you on the basics and see what you actually do know how to do, then we'll move on there. Got it. Tenten replied as her excited grin covered her face again. She picked up the katana eagerly, ready to truly begin learning kenjutsu. Shursui's second clone and Niji arrived at another training post-filled area of Training Ground 29. Once they arrived, the clone turned his attention towards his student. I do have something to work on with you, Niji. But before we truly start, you and I need to have a talk. Shursui's clone told the Hyuga. Niji noticed Shursui's serious demeanor immediately. Realizing that whatever he was going to say was most likely going to be important, the Hyuga nodded in response, urging the clone to start speaking. I'm not one to really criticize one's view of life, because I never saw the point of that, but I have noticed that yours is negatively impacting your view of your teammates. So, Niji, I'm not telling you to stop believing in fate or destiny, but you need to realize that you don't know the destinies of your teammates, or the other people around you. So, you need to stop acting like you do know, the clone informed the Hyuga sharply. Niji's eyes narrowed at the clone and his fists tightened. I didn't realize this was the direction you wanted to take this conversation. The Hyuga commented coldly. Shursui-sensei, you must understand that people's destinies are not that hard to see. It is evident in their personality, and how well they succeed in the things they do. A genius will always be a genius and a failure will always remain a failure. And there is nothing anybody can do to change that. Bullshit. The clone responded immediately. You're projecting your own views on others and making them out to be geniuses or failures that's doing nothing but potentially hindering their development, and it's not even helping you grow. It's just you being an asshole and hiding that fact behind your preconceptions of fate, and I won't tolerate that. Humph. Niji scoffed in response. I suppose the Sharingan can't see what the Byakugan can. I can tell a person's fate by looking at them and finding out some information about them. I'm not trying to be an asshole, as you put it. I'm just letting others know exactly what their destiny is. A scowl then developed on his face. It's absolutely disgusting to watch others try and fight their fate. It's a foolish decision that will ultimately get them killed. What's wrong with me letting them know their errors and potentially saving their life? Because it is more damning than anything else. The clone retaliated, a scowl on its face as well. And it shows me that you won't be able to work properly with certain shinobi because you'd view them as failures. It means your communication and teamwork will be hindered because of these views. These views not only harm others, but they harm yourself. The more you view life and others like that, the weaker you will be. Bah! Niji hissed in response. The Hyuga opened his mouth to retaliate at his sensei's condemnation, but his attempts to speak were halted when the Uchiha began to speak. Niji, let me inform you a few more details about myself. The clone started quietly. Like I said yesterday, my mother died in combat when I was really young, and my father, to end his own suffering from losing the love of his life, ended up drinking himself to death. So I was an orphan for a long period of time, and I was always considered a black sheep in the Uchiha during my younger years, both from being an orphan and for my admittedly odd personality. I dealt with many people like you in the Uchiha clan telling me that I was a failure and that I never amount to much. Well, look at me now. I'm one of the highest-ranking jonin in Konoha and am recognized as one of the best Uchiha shinobi of my generation. Niji's eyes widened as he tried to process all of the information that Shursui was giving him, his personal successes and all of the negative circumstances of his childhood. The Hyuga tried to process a classification for the Uchiha, but found himself unable to. To him, Shursui was becoming a contradiction to how he viewed life and other people. I am no failure. I made that damn clear to myself and anyone who doubted me. And everybody else that you may have called a failure is not one either, Shursui's clone stated sharply. Still believe in destiny and all that stuff. I could give less than a fuck. But don't view people in such a simple-minded mindset. You don't know what each person's fate is and you don't even know if they could maybe one day change it. I won't tolerate this aspect of your beliefs, as they harmful both to others and to yourself. Do you understand? Niji remained silent as his mind still attempted to process exactly what Shursui's clone was telling him. A few seconds passed before the clone snapped its fingers. I said, do you understand? It repeated the phrase, I understand. The Hyuga replied quietly and unsurely. He spoke with a tone that both sounded and felt foreign to him. It was a blatant lie and both the Hyuga and the clone knew that. Niji simply couldn't comprehend what the Uchiha's clone was trying to tell him. He'd have to do his own research and do some thinking on his own time. Anyway, I know that may be a lot to take in for someone like you, but I just needed to get it across to you somehow. The clone sighed in response. That was the most important thing I wanted to do with this hour session. We could work on something, because I do have some things I'd like to really teach you, but would you like to just think for a little bit? Because you really want to. I'd like that actually. Niji sighed in response. The clone nodded and started to walk off. I'll be in the area if you finish your thinking early and want to work on something, but take your time. And I'd really like if you tried to reflect on what I was telling you. Niji watched the clone walk away for a few seconds before he took a seat on the group and assumed a position for meditation. The Hyuga proceeded to close his eyes and do what his sensei requested, think on both what the clone told him and his own personal beliefs. An hour passed by and the three genin reunited in the area where they had split apart from each other. Both Naruto and Tenten looked tired and were sweating after constant practice in their respective sessions. Niji was not physically tired, but the Hyuga did look mentally exhausted after his hour-long meditation session. Whoa, you good Niji? Naruto questioned in curiosity. I'm fine. The Hyuga replied dismissively. I just have a few things to think about. He does, but he'll have to do that a little bit later. I'd like to really begin group training. Shursui informed his genin students. All three members of Team 5 turned their attention towards their sensei, and nodded. What do you want us to work on, sensei? Tenten questioned him. Shursui's immediate response was to walk up to a nearby tree in the area. He started to walk upward along the tree's trunk. The Uchiha commented nonchalantly as he made his way further up the tree until he reached the first branch he could. Once he made it there, he proceeded to take a seat. Walk up a tree with just our feet. Naruto's eyes widened in response. I remember watching a few of my clan members performing that practice. We're working on our chakra control with this, correct? Niji questioned. Yup. The idea is that you concentrate chakra on the bottom of your feet, and, if you are able to control the chakra precisely, you'll be able to climb up this tree with just your feet. Too much and you'll get blown off the tree, and too little and you'll just slip off and fall flat on your face. Shui explained the exercise. Again, it's a great work to just work on your overall chakra control, which is mandatory to be able to properly learn and use certain jutsu and, well, function properly as a shinobi during missions. Understood. Tenten exclaimed. Both Naruto and Neji nodded silently. Well then, try it yourself. Shui encouraged as he pointed to 3 nearby trees next to the one he was currently at. Concentrate some chakra to the bottom of your feet, and see how far you can make it. The 3 genin nodded in understanding. They each made a hand sign before they ran towards the trees, ready to climb up and see if they could perform the exercise on their first try. Instead, Naruto fell within the first few seconds of his attempt. Tenten and Neji both lasted for a few seconds longer before they too fell off. Both of the elder genin managed to land on their feet, while Naruto managed to hit the ground face first. Ow, he groaned in pain. Did that hurt? Huh. I don't actually remember if I ever felt like that when I first started the lesson. Shui pondered to himself. Quickly, he shrugged his shoulder. It doesn't matter. That wasn't horrible attempts for a first try, but you all have a long way to go. Let's keep up the practice. Remember to try and find the right balance with your chakra so you don't slip off the tree or destroy part of it. Oh, come on! Naruto groaned. The Uzumaki was starting to get extremely frustrated. The team had been practicing tree climbing for over an hour, and he was making no real progress. He had only managed to get himself up the tree a few inches, but was unable to do much more than that. In contrast, both Neji and Tenten had managed to make it much further than their original attempts. Neji, himself, was actually able to reach one of the tree's branches. Now, he was working on standing still on the tree and maintaining his chakra control for as long as he could. This is pissing me off. Naruto hissed to himself. He wasn't making as much progress as he wanted to in comparison to his team, and it was starting to become noticeable to him. Neji heard the Uzumaki's complaints, and nearly snickered at his failures. However, he then remembered the conversation he had with Shusui's clone and remained quiet in an attempt to avoid Shusui's ire. As he recalled his conversation with the clone and his own meditation on the subject, a curiosity started to arise in Neji's mind. Could the Uzumaki really improve? I wonder if I could test my beliefs and Shisui-sensei's words. The Hyuga told himself as he quickly made a hand sign. Byakugan, Naruto. Neji called out to the blonde as he jumped off the tree branch and headed towards the Uzumaki. Said Uzumaki was about to make another attempt at climbing the tree when he heard Neji's voice. He stopped running and turned to face Neji with an irritated look on his face. Yes? Naruto's irritation quickly faded as he noticed Neji's face. Why do you have your Byakugan activated? Never mind that. Neji dismissed Naruto's question and instead pointed towards the Uzumaki's feet. You're using way too much chakra. You need to decrease the amount. Huh? The Uzumaki questioned dumbly for a second before he simply shrugged. Okay. Naruto made a hand sign and attempted to concentrate a smaller amount of chakra in his feet. Neji paid very close attention to the amount of chakra centered in the blonde's feet. Still too much. Use even less chakra. Neji stated sharply. I'm trying. Naruto exclaimed loudly as he made another hand sign. As Neji watched Naruto attempt to lower his chakra supply, the Hyuga, for the first time, really paid attention to the amount of chakra Naruto actually had. He had to resist the urge to stare. Naruto possessed such a large amount of chakra that it took the Hyuga prodigy by surprise. He had never seen so much chakra concentrated in one person, let alone someone his own age. So, is this a good amount, you think? Naruto questioned, snapping the Hyuga from his thoughts. The Uzumaki didn't even wait for Neji to reply back. He just started to run up the tree. He made it quite far up the tree and almost reached the tree, but he started to fall off then. The blonde, this time, managed to catch himself from hitting the ground hard like he normally did. Damn, so close that time. He cursed to himself. He then turned his attention towards the Hyuga and gave him a smile. I'll try and work around that level, or a bit lower. Thanks a lot for the help, Neji. Don't worry about it. Neji brushed off Naruto's compliment. The Hyuga continued to watch Naruto make more progress up the tree. The Hyuga noticed Naruto took only 2 or 3 more attempts before he finally reached the tree. The blonde proceeded to cheer and shout loudly once he reached his goal before he ran back down to keep practicing. Neji shook his head, still uncertain about his own thoughts and beliefs. Neji quickly returned to his tree and continued to practice. He was unaware of Tenten and Shusui's staring at him after he helped Naruto. Tenten was looking at him in surprise after finally seeing the guy she had assumed was a jackass actually offer help to Naruto. Shursui was looking at him proudly and with a smile on his face, feeling as if Neji was starting to take some of their conversation to heart. Once Team 5 finished the tree walking exercise, Shursui trained his students through different exercises to strengthen them. He had them do push-ups, sit-ups, run around the training ground multiple times, and practice aiming at targets with their shuriken and kunai. Once the training session was finally over, all 3 genin were exhausted. So, that concludes training for the day. Shursui told his students with a smile. It'll be like this each and every day we meet up, so I hope you all get used to it. Some days may be different, as I may have something I particularly want to work on with each of you, but this will be the general plan. We're going to get you all toughened up and working together for a while before we truly start working on some more cooler shit. The Uchiha then shrugged. Some days we'll have a mission to do after training, but I didn't pick any out for us today. So yeah, we're done for today, understood. Niji nodded in understanding before he started to walk off. Niji! Naruto called out to the Hyuga. He stopped his walking, which urged Naruto to continue to speak. Can I take you out to get something to eat now? Consider it a thanks for helping me out on the tree database. I have a previously made arrangement with my clan. Niji answered dismissively. Perhaps another day though? Yeah, that's okay. The Uzumaki shrugged. I'll just see you tomorrow then. The Hyuga gave Naruto a nod before he started to walk off. If the Hyuga were being honest, he would have said that he had no plans. However, he didn't particularly enjoy the idea of being around Naruto for too much longer at the moment. He had a lot of things to think about and many of them were involved with his perception of the Uzumaki. The Hyuga, at the moment, simply needed some more meditation and thought, and he didn't even reject you that badly. Tenten noted with wide eyes. What happened to make him not be a jackass today? Hey, I don't know, but he's been kinda cool today. And helpful. Naruto replied with a chuckle. I'll take this Niji over the one from the previous days though, so he can stay this way. Oh, don't get me wrong, I definitely prefer him like this. Just haven't noticed him ever be this way before. The Kunoichi shrugged. Anyway, my boss probably needs some extra help, so I'm going to head out. Bye Naruto, Shursui sensei. With those words, Tenten started to walk away from the training ground. Both Naruto and Shursui waved goodbye to the Kunoichi. Once she was gone, Shursui turned his attention to Naruto. Before you head out, Naruto, do you mind coming with me? My best friend wanted to talk to you for a little bit. Shursui asked his student. Yeah, sure. I didn't have anything to do, so sure. Naruto nodded. Who's your best friend? Weasel Kage is your best friend? Naruto nearly screamed once the two entered the Hokage's office. Weasel Kage? Oh gosh, that's brilliant. Shursui laughed loudly at Naruto's nickname for Itachi. I am totally going to steal that. Itachi shook his head as he watched the two shinobi enter the room. Great, Shursui will probably use that as well. Oh well, at least Weasel Kage is a better nickname than that serious sama name Naruto used to call me when we first met. Hey Weasel Kage? We're here. Shursui chuckled, using the nickname Naruto had just used. I'm not blind, Shursui. I can see that. Itachi replied. You weren't saying anything though. You were doing that thing where you just shake your head and blank out. The Jonin told him. Sometimes, I don't know precisely what to say with you. You're just an interest specimen at times. The Uchiha Hokage sighed. He then turned his attention towards Naruto and let a smile grace his lips. How are you doing, Naruto? Enjoy being a genin so far? So far, it's pretty awesome. Naruto grinned in response. Only first day of training, but I can already feel myself getting tougher. I started working on the Shadow Clone Jutsu and I think I'll have it down by tomorrow or the next day. Impressive. Very impressive. Itachi chuckled. He knew the Uzumaki would probably learn a jutsu like that at some point, so it was no surprise that Shursui decided to start training him on it. So yeah, Itachi, I brought my student. Shursui spoke up. You had something you want to talk to him about? While he did agree with his best friend's decision to tell Naruto about the Kyuubi, he was still very anxious to see how his student would respond. Therefore, he wanted to just get this out of the way and see what was going to happen. Yes, and I thank you for that, Shursui. Itachi bowed his head slightly towards his best friend before he turned his attention back to Naruto. Naruto, we are about to talk about something serious, a guarded secret of Konoha. Can I trust that I'll have your full attention? Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. The thought of discussing a village secret with the Hokage surprises him, but it also excited him. You have my full attention. Naruto attempted to respond neutrally, but his voice betrayed him and conveyed his excitement. Itachi smiled in response, albeit slightly sadly. He knew that Naruto's excitement was probably going to loosen when he heard the news, but it was something that he needed to know. Very well then, Naruto, let's begin. I'm going to tell you the truth about the Kyuubi incident. Itachi informed the boy. Naruto did not speak as Itachi spoke to him about the truth of the Kyuubi's attack on Konoha. He learned that the Yondaime Hokage was unable to actually kill the fox and was forced to seal it into the body of a young child. His body. Itachi explained how he was a Jinchuriki, and how the Sandaime had managed to keep that fact a secret both from Naruto's generation and from foreign shinobi. The explanation took nearly 30 minutes. Once he had finished, silence filled the entire room. It was finally broken by Naruto. So I'm the Kyuubi? He asked quietly in a broken tone of voice. Naruto, did you not listen to Itachi? Shursui spoke up loudly in surprise. What he said a Jinchuriki was? You're not the fox, you're just its container. Then why don't other people realize that? Naruto questioned in response. The boy felt tears starting to develop in his eyes. It's because I really am. I have to be, it would explain so much. Why a few of the other people in the village don't talk to me much or glare at me when I come by? They know that I attacked the village. I killed the yondaime, and so many people in Konoha. Naruto Shursui started to speak up, but he was interrupted by his student. Oh god, I killed Tenten's parents. Naruto's eyes widened exponentially and tears started to fall freely. I made her an orphan. She says she's okay now, but that's definitely a lie, or at least a partial lie. Naruto. Itachi spoke up with a raised voice. The Uzumaki, not used to hearing the Hokage speak that loudly, stopped his mumbling and looked towards Itachi and stared at him, still crying. Itachi quietly pulled out a scroll and laid it out on his desk. Naruto, what do you see here? He asked the boy. A scroll. Naruto replied quietly. Itachi nodded. He then made a hand sign, causing a poof of smoke to cover the area. Once the smoke was revealed, a katana was lying on top of the scroll. Now, what was inside the scroll? The Uchiha questioned. A sword. Naruto answered. His eyes widened slightly as he realized what point Itachi was starting to make. Notice how the scroll contained the sword. It was summoned when it was needed, but it can and will be placed back in the scroll it came from. Itachi informed the Uzumaki. He then made another hand sign and the katana was resealed back inside the scroll. The Uchiha then held up the scroll. But notice how the scroll is still a scroll, despite the fact that it has something sealed inside of it. It isn't a sword just because it has one sealed inside of it. The Hokage put the scroll away and then turned his eyes towards Naruto once again. You see how this concept applies to you, right? Yes, Naruto nodded his head slowly. Itachi smiled as he stood up and walked towards Naruto. He placed his hand on the blonde's shoulder. Naruto, you aren't the Kyuubi. You may contain the Biju, due to the decision of the yondaime, but you aren't the fox. You're Uzumaki Naruto, a shinobi of Konoha. Most people may be ignorant of that fact due to a limited knowledge of how sealing works, but over time, they will realize that you are not the fox. The Uchiha informed the blonde. And if they still can't separate the image of the fox from you, then, to be frank, they don't necessarily deserve to get to know the real you. Naruto's eyes widened further, and he found himself crying for a completely different reason. He's right, you know? You're not a demon or anything, you're just one of my bratty students. Shursui spoke up with a similar smile to Itachi. And you're going to become a great ninja, Naruto. Naruto grabbed both Shursui and Itachi and pulled the two Uchiha best friends into a hug. Both young men were surprised at the blonde's action and quickly returned his hug. A few seconds passed before the hug was broken. Naruto, I know that was a lot to take in, but I felt you needed to know. Are you okay? Itachi questioned. You're right. This is a lot to take in. The Uzumaki sighed slightly in response. He then let a smile grace his lips. But you're also right. I'm not the Kyuubi and I'm just me, Uzumaki Naruto. I'm okay, don't worry about me. I believe you. Itachi chuckled lightly at Naruto's response. Just know that if you need somebody to talk to, we're here. Shursui offered. The blonde let a wide smile grace his lips as he nodded in understanding at his sensei's words. With the topic having been brought up, Itachi dismissed the young Uzumaki. Naruto left the room shortly after, leaving both Itachi and Shursui alone. The two best friends both sighed in relief once the genin left. That could have gone worse. Shursui noted. It could have indeed. Itachi nodded. A frown crept over his lips. I understand why Hiruzen-san did not inform the boy, and I even listened to his advice to at least wait until he became a genin, but I still feel he deserved to write no. It directly involves him and answers questions he has probably been wondering for years. And God forbid if something happened and Naruto had to find out about the Kyuubi himself. Just be grateful something like that didn't happen. Shursui shivered at the thought. He couldn't imagine something happening to Naruto that would force him into a situation. He was really starting to enjoy being his sensei, and the idea of the blonde being in that much peril was starting to disturb him. Don't think about that. We told him at a good time. He'll be okay, Itachi. Itachi nodded in understanding. I agree. I just wonder if he still has any questions or concerns he didn't tell us. I don't know. Probably. If he has any for us, then he'll come to us. Until he does, though, I wouldn't spend your time worrying about it. I'm sure you already have enough things to stress over anyway. Shursui shrugged in response. The Jonin then started to yawn. Well, I'm going to take that as my cue to head on out and get some shut-eye. Take care, Itachi. You as well, Shursui. Itachi told his best friend. Shursui disappeared from the room, using his shunshin to leave the room. Itachi was left alone, his thoughts as his only company. His best friend was right. He did have other concerns that were stressing him out. In particular, the mission report and death of the Uchiha Sajiri was still troubling him. However, he couldn't help but worry if Naruto was okay and if he was going to take the news of his Jinchuriki status well. If he does have concerns, why would he come to us? We may not truly understand what it means to be a Jinchuriki. Itachi mentally questioned. As soon as the thought entered his head, an idea came to his mind. Itachi quickly looked through some mission request forms he received recently, and pulled out one marked with the image of Takigakure. Perhaps it would be good for Naruto if he were to meet somebody who could probably give him some answers that Shursui or I couldn't give him. The Hokage started to wonder. Naruto screamed as he woke up. The Uzumaki was sweating and breathing heavily as he lied in bed. Such an event hasn't happened to the blonde in years. He couldn't even recall the last time he had a nightmare. Despite the fact that he generally slept well, the blonde had his first nightmare years, and it was one of the most terrifying experiences of his life. So many bodies, so many people. The Uzumaki shook his head. His nightmare was of a modern-day Kyuubi attack. The fox appeared out of nowhere in the middle of Konoha, and proceeded to destroy the village house by house. It killed so many of the citizens of the village, even Itachi and the old man Sandaime in his dream. Naruto tried everything he could to help the others in the village, but nothing he did was working. He couldn't do anything to stop the attack. Contrary to the popular belief, Uzumaki Naruto was not stupid. Even as he remained in his scared state in bed, he knew that the nightmare wasn't random. He knew exactly why he had that dream. Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Naruto mumbled words from his conversation with Itachi and Sensei. He was still having problems adjusting to the information. He did gather that he wasn't the demon fox in human form, like he had thought at first, but it was still difficult for him to fully process everything the two Uchiha had told him. The very creature that attacked on his day of birth murdered many people within Konoha, including the Yondaime Hokage and Tenten's parents, was living within him. He now knew precisely why most of the villagers seemed to not like him. The dirty looks and whispers behind his back all made sense now. To be completely honest, he couldn't even blame them. What would he have done if he found out that somebody else had the Kyuubi, the very beast that had attacked them and killed their relatives and friends, sealed within them? I wouldn't have ignored the person though. They'd be holding the fox back. They wouldn't deserve to be treated badly. Naruto told himself with a sigh. Even though he now knew why he wasn't treated with respect by others, something he had wanted to understand for years, it still bothered him. If the people weren't able to overcome their prejudice, then he may still be hated years later. No! I'm not going to let that happen, the Uzumaki declared as he pulled himself out of the bed. He finally made the conscious effort to calm himself down. I'll show them one day who I really am and that I'm not the Kyuubi. With that declaration, Naruto proceeded to get ready for the day. Once had finished taking a shower, getting dressed, and eating a small breakfast, the Uzumaki headed out for training, aware that he was going to arrive early. Despite the impression that he gave to others, Uchiha Sensei was somebody who did not like to be late. Perhaps it was to be a contrast to his friend Kakashi, but the Uchiha just simply didn't enjoy arriving late to places. As a result, he usually made an attempt to arrive for his meetings early. Therefore, since he had the time, Sensei arrived for his training session with his Genin students around 30 minutes before they were scheduled to meet up. To his surprise, however, his students were already there. Sensei stared at his students with wide eyes before he brought his right hand to his hair sheepishly. You guys, haven't been waiting on me for too long, right? He asked with a nervous chuckle. Not really. We all got here around the same time about 5 minutes ago. Tenten shrugged in response. Well, okay. Glad to know I didn't keep you all waiting for too long. Sensei noted. His nervousness seemed to fade instantly, and he was now looking at his students, pleased with them. You know, I'm impressed that you all actually got here this early. Most people just try to get to places on time, if they can even do that. Well, I wanted to get back to training and get myself tougher. There's still a lot more I can do to get stronger, and I'm ready to keep working on it, Naruto declared excitedly. The blonde had not fully recovered from his nightmare, and was filled with more passion than normal. And I'm sure Tenten and Neji agreed too. Tenten nodded in response to Naruto's statement. Neji gave no verbal reply, but he also did not reject his claim. Gotta say, I'm impressed with the work effort you all seem to have. I guess we shouldn't waste that effort and the time, so let's just start training a little early, Sensei declared as he made a hand sign. 2 clones appeared by his side. Do you all care if we redo the one-on-one sessions from yesterday? I still have a few things I think I could work on with you all. The 3 members of Team 5 looked at each other for a few seconds before they all shook their heads. Sensei smiled in response. Very well then, let's get started, he exclaimed. I think I'll be staying with Neji for today's session. Naruto, Tenten, you two will have my clones for today. Both the blonde and the brunette nodded and walked away with the clones. A moment passed before Neji and Sensei were left alone with each other. Neji immediately looked away from his sensei, feeling uncomfortable. Sensei noticed and a small frown developed on his face. You alright, Neji? He asked. No need to concern yourself. I'm fine, Sensei. Neji replied quickly. The Hyuga turned towards the Uchiha and sighed. I'm just still thinking about our conversation from yesterday. Sensei also sighed. Look, Neji, I'm not trying to say you can't believe in fate and destiny and all of that. I know quite a few people who believe in it. All I'm saying is that you can't really know what fate has in store for your teammates and others, so I don't want you judging them for a fate that you don't fully understand. I know what you are trying to say. I just need some more time to think about things. It's hard for me to fully process, Neji admitted quietly. Alright, Sensei shook his head in response. He didn't quite understand what was so difficult for Neji to understand, but he would probably never know. He didn't believe in fate, let alone Neji's twisted view of fate. I hope you don't mind, but I gave you some time to think about it yesterday, and you always have your time when we are not together. Do you care if we get started on actual training? No, of course I don't mind. The Hyuga answered immediately. The traces of uncertainty in Niji's voice that were present when he talked about his beliefs were gone, and he was now completely focused. Alright, Niji, your specialty is probably going to be the gentle fist, but I can help you train with that. So, I want to work on something that could be practical for you to give you either some utility, or some other type of attacks. Shursui told him. I know you were the top-ranked student in your graduating class and that you possess great chakra control, a natural skill due to you being a Hyuga. I also know that you actually have some decent chakra reserves for a genin your age. So I want to know which field would you like to study from me, medical ninjutsu or elemental ninjutsu? Niji's eyes widened in response. No Hyuga shinobi, as far as Niji recalled, trained themselves in medical ninjutsu, and very few ever trained in elemental-style ninjutsu. Both branches of the Hyuga clan prided themselves on being traditional and sticking to the techniques and skills that their ancestors had used. Most simply relied on their Byakugan, the gentle fist and an occasional jutsu that they knew. It never occurred to Niji that he'd be given both the opportunity and encouragement to study something else. What would you recommend I study? He asked his sensei. To be completely honest, I'd suggest studying them both when you get the time. I think it's essential that every shinobi works a little bit with their natural element, but I also think that every shinobi should have some basic knowledge of medical ninjutsu in case they need to help themselves or their allies. Shursui explained. Having said that, with the level of chakra control you have, according to your instructors at the academy, I think it would be a waste if you didn't start studying medical ninjutsu sooner than later. Niji closed his eyes in thought as he processed what Shursui was suggesting. A few seconds passed before he opened his eyes and nodded at his sensei. Very well then. I'll follow up with your suggestion and start practicing medical ninjutsu. You want to? Shursui asked again for clarification. The Hyuga nodded. You are right, I can study them both on my own time. However, I'll still always be focused on my gentle fist as my main source of offense. I can study another type of offense later. For now, I'll begin looking at basic medical ninjutsu, and seeing if it is anything I can work with. He then looked curiously at his sensei. How familiar are you in the skill? I have to admit, I'm not familiar enough. The Uchiha noted, bringing his hand back to his hair and rubbing it sheepishly. But I'm familiar with the basics, and I can heal some minor wounds. That's about a good place to start. If it's something you want to pursue, we can find out now and I'll seek out some methods that can help you improve past my knowledge. Niji nodded, showing both his understanding and acceptance. Once Shursui realized that Niji was ready, he pulled out a small scroll from one of the pockets in his jacket. He promptly took a seat and gestured for his student to do the same. Niji quickly sat down on the ground next to his sensei as Shursui opened up the scroll. Alright, let's begin your study. He told the Hyuga. Niji nodded as he began to look at the contents of the scroll. Tenten, did you not bring your sword to training? Shursui's clone asked once it and Tenten arrived at the same location from yesterday's session. Tenten responded by pulling out a scroll from a pocket from her pants and placing it on the ground. She made a hand sign and soon, a sword appeared right above the scroll. Don't worry about that. I got it right here. She told the clone with a smirk on her face as she picked up the sword. Shursui's clone was staring at her in surprise. So you are familiar with Fuinjutsu? A little bit, yeah. I learned enough so that way I don't have to carry all of my weapons around. This way, I can hold on to more without completely filling up my pockets, Tenten explained. I see. The clone noted. Out of curiosity, would you be interested in studying the art in more detail? The kunoichi shook her head. Maybe one day, but not right now. It's just not really anything I'm too interested in. Shursui's clone nodded in understanding. Truth be told, the clone only asked out of obligation, since there weren't too many seal masters in Konoha and any slight interest in the field should be encouraged. Fuinjutsu was not an art for every shinobi. Personally, Shursui was extremely unfamiliar with it, and could barely pull off any seals. It was probably better off that Tenten wasn't interested at the moment. She would not get too far in her studies with Shursui's help, since after one day, she would have all of the knowledge he possessed on the art. Well, we can just keep working back on what we were working on yesterday. Did you do any training last night like I suggested? Shursui's clone questioned the kunoichi. Of course. Tenten exclaimed proudly. The girl proceeded to show off her skill with the sword. She started to swing her sword and strike forward at the air, mimicking the moves she had been working on yesterday. Once she had finished showing off all that she had learned, the clone nodded in approval. So far, so good. Not too shabby for someone who just really started to learn yesterday. It complimented Tenten. Now I'd like to actually train you further on the basics and get them down to an art. Once I'm sure you can pull them off, we can work on some of the more complex intricacies on Kenjutsu. And who knows, if you really keep developing at a great pace, I can maybe teach you some of the unique shit I can do with a sword. Heh. Tenten grinned, liking the idea of improving her Kenjutsu. She was really starting to get interested in the field. Sounds good to me. What do you want me to do? Try and destroy me. The clone told her. Tenten's response was to blink. Before she could question, the clone pulled out a sword of its own. The sword was made of wood and was, obviously, a training weapon for sparring. You and I are going to spar. Naturally, I'll tone down my abilities and such and try to fight like somebody around your level, if not a little higher. It'll be your job to try and cut me down. The clone elaborated. Any questions? What happens after I destroy you? Will Sensei just send me another clone to continue with my training? Tenten questioned. That all depends on what time you manage to accomplish that. If you do it fast enough, then yeah, the real me will probably stick another clone on you or something, the clone informed her. A smirk then developed on its face. And that's also assuming if you can actually destroy me. And believe me, that'll be no easy task for you. Really now? The kunoichi's grin returned. If there was one thing she truly enjoyed, it was a challenge. Yeah, really? Shusui's clone mumbled before it charged at Tenten quickly. The kunoichi's eyes widened as the clone managed to swing its wooden sword. Its attack connected and knocked Tenten backwards. The kunoichi winced in pain, but managed to stay on her 2 feet and not fall down. She gripped her sword tightly as she glared at her sensei's clone. Damn, you got the jump on me. She commented in irritation. We're shinobi, remember? You have to be ready for anything. Shusui's clone informed her. And I know for a fact I charged slow enough to give you time to react. I know. That was fuck up on my part. Tenten grumbled as a small blush developed on her face. Her pride was hurt slightly knowing that she could have done more to block Shusui's clone's attack. Nevertheless, she was able to put her damaged pride aside and charge at the clone, maintaining her grip on the sword in her hands. But I won't mess up this time. I'd hope so. Bring it. The clone exclaimed as it charged Tenten as well. A Naruto Shusui's clone mumbled awkwardly as the two approached their subsection of the training ground. Naruto gave his sensei's clone a curious glance. About yesterday, Shusui-sensei, don't worry about it. The blonde quickly interrupted his sensei. I'm fine. Are you sure? The clone asked. Naruto rolled his eyes in response before responding. Yes, I'm sure, Shusui's clone sighed in response. Naruto may be doing okay considering the news, but that didn't mean that he was truly okay. He considered himself a good read of people, and while Naruto did seem to be taking the news better than he had thought he would, he still seemed a little out of it, sad, and frustrated. While the clone did want to help, he also realized that Naruto was going to be stubborn and deny any need for it. Therefore, any further questioning would only irritate the blonde and potentially worsen the mood. As a result, Shusui's clone put the issue aside for now and turned his attention back to the training session. Well then, we'll just get right into training then. Shusui's clone spoke up. Let's get back to working on the shadow clone. No need for that, Shusui-sensei. Naruto, once again, interrupted his sensei. This time, however, he was noticeably more cheerful, as he had a grin on his face. He brought his fingers together into a seal. Shadow clone jutsu. Immediately, an identical clone of Naruto appeared next to him. Both blondes gave their sensei's clone a thumbs up. What do you think? I was training almost all last night on this. Naruto exclaimed happily. Well damn. Shusui's clone whistled in approval. And I thought it was fast when I got the jutsu down in 4 days. Less than a day's worth of training and you can already pull it off. A smirk developed on the clone's face. You're gonna be some shinobi, you know that? Damn right I will. Both Naruto and his clone declared in near unison. Because I'm going to take the place of your best friend and become the Rokudan one of these days. Head. Shursui resisted the urge to laugh as he imagined an older Naruto sitting behind the desk, being overwhelmed by the paperwork. Unlike his best friend, who had the patience to handle any annoyance, he knew Naruto would be absolutely destroyed after just a few minutes of the boring, political bullshit. What's so funny, sensei? You look like you're trying really hard not to laugh. Naruto asked with a glare. You don't doubt me, do you? A frown developed on Shusui's clone's face, as it realized that Naruto misinterpreted his reaction. Me? Doubt you? Of course not. I just remembered something funny about Itachi. I'll tell you about it someday, because it's kinda funny. It stated immediately. Okay? Naruto's glare disappeared and he was now staring at his sensei's clone in confusion. Why can't you just tell me now? Because we have to take training seriously now. The clone answered. Naruto accepted the answer and quickly dispelled his own clone. He could have kept his clone around and trained with it. Does he not know that it can help out with training? Shusui's clone questioned. The clone opened its mouth to inform Naruto about that, but then it shook its head in rejection of that idea. On second thought, I think Naruto would abuse that method of training and would end up mentally exhausting himself from all the shadow clones dispelling at once. I'll wait a little bit and tell him about that later. Well, since you got the time to practice with the shadow clone jutsu, did you get any time to practice with the other jutsu I gave you? Shusui's clone asked in curiosity. Well, I tried, Naruto responded sheepishly as he started to laugh slightly. He pulled out a shuriken. This is what happens whenever I try though. Naruto quickly tossed the shuriken at a nearby tree. He then made the necessary hand signs. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Instead of cloning the shuriken ended up dissolving from existence. It disappeared from the world before it even made contact with the tree. Once the shuriken was gone, the blonde looked over to Shursui in confusion, expecting an explanation. He's putting so much chakra into the jutsu that, instead of cloning the shuriken, he ended up completely destroying it. What the fuck? Shursue's clone wondered to himself how Naruto was even capable of that task. That fox really does have some interesting effects, I guess. Well, I think I understand the issue, and I think I know how I can fix it. The clone told the blonde. You ready to get training started? The Uzumaki let a small grin develop on his face as he nodded. Of course. Well, I must say, the three of you are all making great progress so far. Shursui praised his students once the individual sessions were over and the Genin members of Team 5 were all together. Naruto and Tenten both beamed at their sensei's praise. Niji nodded in acceptance, but even he was obviously pleased about the words from Shursui. However, they didn't even know the extent of Shursui's praise. Great progress was an understatement to the Uchiha. He was almost stunned at how fast of progress they were going. Niji had managed to understand the general theory behind how medical ninjutsu worked and started experimenting with concentrating the correct amount of chakra into his hands. Although he failed to accomplish that goal, Shursui had to admit that Niji's understanding of the theory was truly impressive, and showed that he really did deserve the genius title that he'd been given. Hopefully, though, I can get the ego that came with that title out of the picture as soon as possible. Tenten had struggled with Shursui's clone for most of the training session, but managed to destroy it after trying for 30 minutes. Shursui really intended for his clone to just stay one step above Tenten's level at any moment, so it could truly observe how much Tenten needed to work on the basics of Kenjutsu, and help improve her abilities. The fact that Tenten managed to destroy the clone completely stunned him. As a result, he created another clone and began to work with her on more intermediate level skills and techniques of Kenjutsu. Tenten was proving to be a fast learner of Kenjutsu. Maybe that means I really can pass down my own style of Kenjutsu to her. Prior to the training session, Naruto had managed to learn how to perform the Shadow Clone Jutsu. During his training, after listening to his issue with Shursui's clone, managed to show progress with the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Based on what his clone observed, it seemed like the blonde was going to pick up the jutsu in just a few more days if that. That kid really knows how to work with high chakra level jutsus. It was only 2 days into actually training and acting as a sensei, and Shursui had to admit that his students were already going beyond his expectations. He could barely even imagine what they were going to be like once they were his age. The thought both excited and terrified him. You know, I could probably say some more shit about how impressed and proud I am of you guys, but that'd be a waste of our precious time. Shursui commented with a slight chuckle as he pulled out another set of scrolls. It's time for some group training, and I have something that I would like to work with all three of you on. The three genin nodded as they each accepted a copy of the scrolls. They all opened it up and realized that it was a scroll for a jutsu, the Shunshin. I'm sure you all are familiar with this jutsu. It's a D-rank jutsu and considered the most basic jutsu outside of the 3 you all learned at the Ninja Academy, Shursui told his students. A grin slowly developed on his face. He then immediately disappeared from his place in front of his students, only to appear instantaneously right behind them. However, there's so much more to the Shunshin than anybody gives it credit for. All 3 of his students quickly turned their heads and faced their sensei with wide eyes. What the hell? Naruto gasped. Tenten simply nodded at Naruto's gasp, unable to even voice her disbelief at her sensei's movements. That was fast, Niji mumbled quietly. He had never seen somebody move that fast. He doubted that, even if he had his Byakugan activated, that he would have been able to follow his sensei's movements. Seems like I got your attention. Shursui grinned. As soon as he finished his sentence, he quickly disappeared from his place behind the students, and reappeared in his original place, in front of them. All 3 were staring at him, their eyes somehow widening further. You see, the Shunshin is a basic skill that mostly every shinobi knows. However, there is so much more you can do with it. People don't seem to realize how much utility, how much speed, how much strength this jutsu really brings to their arsenal. In some copies of the bingo books, I'm actually known as Shunshin no Shursui, because of everything I can do with this simple jutsu. The Uchiha informed his students. Now, I'm not expecting all of you to want to use this technique as often and for as many reasons as I like to, but I stand by my belief that every shinobi should know how to use this jutsu well. So, for today's lesson, I'm going to make sure you can at least pull off a decentish Shunshin / that cool with you guys. After all of the praise and detail Shursui put into his explanation of the jutsu, Naruto, Tenten, and Niji couldn't really say no. All 3 genin nodded, ready to start learning the jutsu. Wonderful! Shursui exclaimed happily, clapping his hands together. Let's begin right away. Anyway, I gave you all the scrolls for the Shunshin because I really want to hammer in the details behind how it works. It's all technical info, but I think it's actually pretty useful stuff. Anyway, let's start with how the scroll starts and go into how the person using the jutsu seemingly disappears. People often say it's akin to teleportation, but I think that's the incorrect term to use. It's more like. Shursui continued to ramble on about the jutsu, going into extensive detail about every technical aspect of the jutsu. All 3 of his students gave both him and the scroll on the jutsu their full attention as they tried to understand exactly how to pull off the technique. You know, I never realized how long-winded Shursui-sensei could be about something. Naruto inwardly noted. Of the 3 genin, he was having the most difficulty following everything Shursui was saying. I really doubt everything he's saying is really necessary. I probably missed something from Shusui's lecture. Guess it was all important. Naruto came to the painful realization after making another attempt at the Shunshin Jutsu. The Uzumaki had intended on teleporting directly in front of a nearby tree. His attempt failed and Naruto did not teleport himself at all. Instead, he felt his mind spinning in circles with each failed attempt. Naruto was now starting to get a headache and was resisting the urge to throw up. Tenten was not making much more progress than Naruto. Unlike him, however, she hadn't eaten more for breakfast and therefore couldn't hold back the urge to throw up. After failing again, the kunoichi ran to a nearby bush and started to vomit. Niji was the only to succeed actual movement, but even he failed to perform the technique properly. He had intended to teleport only a few inches to his right, but managed to teleport himself upward. The Hyuga, as a result, made a collision course with the ground. In addition to his head spinning from all of the previously failed attempts, the rest of the boy's body was also in pain. You all can do better than that. This jutsu is supposed to become almost second nature once you start actually using it. Shunsui informed them with a frown as he wondered why none of his students were really picking up on the technique yet. I wonder if I missed something in my explanation. Do you want to just start over and we can talk about the technical aspects again? Maybe that'd help. Oh god no! Naruto declared loudly as he tried to ignore his headache and continue practicing the jutsu. Anything to avoid having to listen to the same lecture he had just heard. Did I say something wrong? Shunsui wondered to himself with a frown after he heard Naruto's strong reaction to his question. Well, guess that'll do. Shunsui noted pleased. It took the group a few hours of practice and instruction, but the genin of Team 5 were finally able to accomplish the Shunshin Jutsu. All of them were now capable of doing quick transportation to areas near them. With further practice and training, as far as Shunsui saw it, they would be able to do long-distance transportation without much effort. You guys have made great progress. I think, together with the individual sessions, we've all accomplished a lot today. Shunsui noted with a chuckle. Honestly, I'd say we are done with training for the day. Understood. Niji spoke up for his teammates. Having said that, I think we could all benefit from doing a mission. We need to build up your resume, so why not start now? The Uchiha commented. A mission? Naruto's face twisted into a grin. Alright. Hell yeah. First mission, let's go and do it. Well, you're awfully excited, aren't you? Shunsui chuckled at the blonde's reaction. Of course. Finally, I really get to go out and get something accomplished for Konoha and do something cool. He stated proudly. Yeah, like doing some chores is going to be something cool. Tenten rolled her eyes. It's not going to be chores. It'll be something like saving a princess or fighting off a legion of enemy shinobi, the Uzumaki declared as imagined what exactly would be his first mission. The poor sap. He obviously doesn't know what missions are like for genin when they first start up. Shunsui continued to chuckle as he imagined how Naruto was going to react to what his first mission was going to be. Naruto, do you not know how the mission ranking system? Niji gave the blonde a strange look. Unlike his normal looks, the Hyuga seemed more confused than condescending. You do realize that our first mission is going to be something not nearly as dramatic, but rather, something more mundane? Hey, you never know. I think we're gonna get something really awesome and challenging. Naruto replied back, irritably. Naruto, don't get your hopes up. It'll only disappoint you. Tenten informed him. You guys are going to be wrong. You'll see. Naruto scoffed in response. You know what, I'll make a bet with both of you. If I'm right and we get something cool, you both have to give me half of your part of the pay from the mission. If I'm wrong, you both get split my side of the pay. Deal? Deal. Niji and Tenten both stated in unison. They quickly shook hands with Naruto, establishing the bet. They obviously know about the system. Naruto, you just fucked yourself. Shunsui thought to himself, resisting the urge to snicker at the thought of how his blonde student was going to react. You've got to be kidding me. Naruto continued to whine. The blonde had dramatized the image of the shinobi in his head to the point where he couldn't fathom the idea of doing basic chores or errands as missions, even though the idea made no sense to him. Here he was with his team, helping move objects out of an antique shop in the heart of Konoha to a nearby storage building. Quite the cool mission, wouldn't you agree, Naruto? Shunsui laughed as he watched his student groan as he was carrying a box of vases out of the store. Shut up, Shunsui-sensei. Naruto hissed in response. Just so you know, Naruto, I've been trying to get a nicer set of kunai knives, so I'm really glad you were so generous to give me some extra money. Tenten commented nonchalantly to her teammate. While I do not have any plans for my money like Tenten, I believe I will appreciate the extra money when I come across something I need. Niji added. You two can shut up too. The blonde hissed in response. Tenten chuckled at Naruto's response, while Niji simply smirked in amusement. The two entered the store and went to go take another box of antiques to the storage unit. Thank you all so much for taking the mission. I really needed the help as fast as I could. The owner of the store told the members of Team 5. She was rather young, looking about 21 years old. Don't thank us. We're just doing our job. We're glad to help out anyone, especially someone as pretty as you. Shunsui told the girl with a smirk on his face. My, that's quite the compliment. The girl replied to Shunsui with a smile. It's the truth. The Uchiha chuckled lightly to the girl. You got some cool stuff in here too, by the way. Some really cool antiques. Maybe I'll stop by sometime and buy something. Oh, any business is really appreciated, especially nowadays. I'm trying to save up as much money as I can so me and my boyfriend can go on a trip to Inauguration, the shop owner told Shursui. Immediately, Shursui's eyes dropped downward. Boyfriend? The girl did not notice the change in Shursui's demeanor, so she nodded happily in response. He's a real sweetheart and a hard worker. The love of my life. She appeared as if she was going to continue going on and on about her boyfriend, but she noticed Niji and Tenten leave her store with their own boxes of antiques. She quickly rushed over to Niji. Hey, just to let you know, those go in a special place in the storage. I'll need to show you where. The Hyugan nodded in understanding and went ahead with the shop owner. Shursui watched the girl walk with his student and sighed. Figures. A girl as hot as her has to have a boyfriend already. He mumbled to himself. Pervert. Tenten grumbled as she walked by her sensei. What? Shursui turned his attention back to the sole kunoichi on his team. What did I do? She may not have noticed, but don't think I didn't see you checking her out since the second we got to her store. Tenten clarified with a slight eye roll. What? She's attractive. I'm not going to deny that. I didn't even say anything to her or do anything, but I'm still a pervert? Her sensei questioned. To his disappointment, his student had already walked off with her own box, not bothering to hear what her sensei had to say. Shursui remained standing still before he brought his hands to the pockets of his jacket. He shook his head and walked off into the antique store. I'm not a pervert, Shursui grumbled to himself as he went to pick up another box for himself. 2 weeks had passed since Team 5 had officially started training as Genin. Each day during those weeks, the team met with each other for training and missions, whenever they had the extra time to perform them. Shursui walked away from training ground 29 after dismissing his students from another day of training. The Uchiha was in high spirits after another working with his Genin team. They keep surpassing all the expectations I place on them. They're gonna be great shinobi soon. Really soon. He noted to himself. He then started to chuckle to themselves. I guess what they say is true about each new generation surpassing the previous one. Damn. I guess I might be starting to get old if I can consider myself part of a different generation. The Uchiha continued to think of his students as he walked through the streets of Konoha towards his destination, the Hokage's office. Hey Itachi, what's up? Shursui exclaimed as he walked through the door to the Hokage's office. As soon as he entered the room, he noticed that Itachi was in the room with his father. Oh. Hey Fugaku-sama. Am I interrupting anything? Not at all, Shursui. It's about time I start leaving myself. Fugaku replied with a shrug. He got up from his seat. Thanks for letting me know about this, Itachi. We'll continue talking about this later. With those words, Fugaku gave his son and Shursui a bow before he walked out of the room. Shursui watched the Uchiha clan head leave with a frown on his face. Once Fugaku was gone from the area, he turned his attention to his best friend. Your dad okay? I don't think I've seen him that stressed out since those meetings about the potential coup. Shursui asked his best friend with a shiver. My father's fine. He's stressed right now. Itachi answered with a sigh. There was another Uchiha casualty on the border of Kaze no Kuni, Uchiha Maro, if the name rings a bell to you. Although there was a whole team there, only Maro was killed and, like Sajiri, his eyes were completely destroyed. Shursui's eyes widened at the news. Although the name Uchiha Maro sounded familiar to him, he couldn't put the name to a face. He believed that the man was a jonin and may be involved with ANBU, but he couldn't really be certain if that was correct. Nevertheless, he knew all that he needed to know. A clansman and fellow shinobi of Konoha was targeted and killed on duty. The exact same situation as with Sajiri, huh? The Jonin sensei of Team 5 mumbled quietly. Itachi nodded solemnly. This is starting a trend. The Uchiha shinobi are being targeted in that area. I was just talking about this with my father. We have both agreed to put a ban on Uchiha shinobi taking missions in Kaze no Kuni. In the meantime, we're sending out a squad to investigate in more details what is happening. There was always a risk with being shinobi. You could die on any mission. That was common knowledge and, as a result, shinobi did die on missions. However, these 2 deaths were starting to look like a trend. It wasn't random shinobi dying during a mission, it was particular shinobi being targeted. Someone was going out of their way to kill Uchiha shinobi. That was what the issue to Itachi was truly. He didn't like the idea of any of his shinobi being the targets for murder, especially not when they were his own clansmen. The Hokage sighed as he got out of his seat for a second to look out the window towards the village. Shursui, this is really bothering me. I don't know who this assailant, what their skill level is, or if they are working alone or not, but these attacks must be stopped. When you find out more info, I'd like to go on that mission. I want to personally kill the guy. Shursui informed his friend sharply. You and I worked hard with the Hokage to keep the peace and prevent something happening a few years ago, and it seemed to have been working for so long. Now it looks like that peace is being broken, and I won't off to get this guy off this planet ASAP. To be completely honest, I'm interested in doing the deed myself. Itachi replied with a frown. Nevertheless, I'll keep you informed as I learn more. I will say, though, this topic is something I'd like to be kept secret between you, myself, and my father for now. Understood? Shui nodded in response. He took a deep breath to calm himself down after being riled up by the information before he continued to speak with his best friend. Anyway, you called me here for something else, right? I did. Itachi nodded, calmed down himself now that the topic switched to something more pleasant. The Hokage quickly returned to his desk and pulled out 2 scrolls. I have a mission that I'd like to assign to your team, Shui. Come by tomorrow with them. Gotcha. The Jonin sensei nodded in understanding. Is that all you had to tell me, though? No. I also have another mission, just for you. Itachi grabbed one of the scrolls and held out to his best friend. Shui immediately took the scroll. The mission your team will perform involves going to Taki. I'd like you, while you're there, to deliver this scroll to the leader of Taki. It'll be a B-rank mission that'll be put on your resume as long as you can give me the leader of Taki's response. Gotcha. Shui nodded. So, am I transporting some secret information that I shouldn't know about it, or can I actually ask what you want me to give to him? A small smile developed on Itachi's face. I suppose I could let you know. Hey look, it's that girl. Looks like she made it home from her mission. Damn. I was kinda hoping that some bandit would have killed her. Why would you think she'd actually die? You know who she is and what she's capable of. No, she's not going to die and we'll be stuck with her, unfortunately. A girl with mint green hair, orange eyes, and a rather tan, almost caramel, skin complexion walked through the entrance to Taki. The girl was wearing a white sleeveless shirt that showed off her midriff, white armlets on both arms, and a white skirt. She had some sort of object in red wrapping that she carried on her back, and a Taki forehead protector was visible on her right arm. A few of the civilians of Taki were mumbling to each other quietly about the girl. They assumed they were speaking quiet enough that she couldn't hear them, but the girl heard every word. With each person that spoke about her, the girl rolled her eyes. Home sweet home, Akomi? The girl commented inwardly with an eye roll. If there's one thing I missed about Taki, it was all the people that talked shit behind our backs. Hey, it could be worse, Fu. They could actually be trying to do something instead of just saying crap. That makes you kinda lucky in some way, doesn't it? A voice, Komi, commented back to the girl. I guess. It just sometimes gets tiring hearing crap like that over and over again. She, now identified as Fu, replied with a sigh. A small smile developed on her face. But it is good to be back home. I can get back to working on that plan of mine. You mean that prank you've been working on the past few days? Komi questioned curiously. Of course. And not gonna lie, I think found the perfect targets for it. Fu grinned at the thought as she turned her head to face the civilians that were talking behind her back. Immediately, scowls developed on their faces and they turned away. Fu's grin vanished, and the girl sighed. Could it kill them to look at me as I'm some piece of trash or something? I wonder if that's a thing unique to the people of Taki, or if any of the other Jinchuriki deal with this crap too? Not certain. I can't remember the last time I had a host that actually interacted a lot with foreigners who knew about them containing me. Komi commented with a sigh. For what it's worth, I'm sorry again, Fu, don't apologize. Neither of us did anything to each other or asked for our situations. It just happened. At least we have each other to keep the other one sane, Fu informed Komi with a cheerful smile. That's true, although I don't really know if we can be classified as sane. Komi replied. Point taken. The mint green-haired girl laughed in response. The conversation ended between Fu and Komi. The Taki kunoichi continued to walk towards her destination, making sure to try and zone out the conversations of the other people she walked by. What if the Uchiha clan protects Naruto and Konoha? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.